Okay, so Street Talk this week we have got five. Excuse me, I wasn't ready for that. 5 stories to talk about, including Show, Don't Tell, which is the story of Shona being told not to tell about what happened, about when she had a little bit of a road traffic incident on Monday off screen. Lots of the viewers were saying, Coronation Street, why didn't you show instead of just telling us about the traffic incident? But I'm sure that this will form part of our discussion later on this one. It's basically what's been going on with Todd.
Well, but the reason
basically.
why...
No, let's talk about it later. We got the Burn Baby Burn story. We've got a Wreath for Franklin story. Still haven't seen any wreaths, but still keeping on going with that title. These titles are awful this week. I've just kept on the old terrible ones. On Daisy's Chain was there. Now it seems like Daniel has been hooked onto Daisy's Chain, and there is a Bistro buyout coming, Gemma. So we will talk about that one last. I will cover the Show Don't Tell story if that's okay with you. You sure?
Yep.
I didn't want to interrupt you. That's right, well, I'm going to start talking. So Monday's episode starts, and I do like it when Coronation Street start like in the middle of the night. They very, very occasionally have everything dark, don't they, at the beginning of episodes, and this was one of these. It was like a 5:15, and I can't remember whether the sun's supposed to have risen at 5:15 anyway, but it doesn't matter. It was dark. David's watching TV in his jammies for some reason. And Shona comes back home. She's just been out moving the car, she says, because there was that all that hoo-ha last week with all the parking problems, with all the traffic that had suddenly migrated from Inkerman Street. Shona saw that there was a space that she could move the car into, so she went out there, moved the car, and hit something or someone as she went round the corner. So she's a little bit worried about this. They go out and have a bit of a search outside, but there doesn't seem to be any evidence that any collision has taken place, like no splattered hedgehogs or pissed people lying there in pools of their own blood or anything. So David says, probably fine. It's probably just an animal or something and it's sloped off. No worries. So they go off to bed. Later on, we were in the morning now, and Abby has seen the dent. And David says, oh yeah, it was me. I was driving around and I hit a bin full of rubble. She doesn't seem to believe him on that one.
To be fair, didn't he almost drive into a skip?
He launched up a skip which had a ramp next to it a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a form.
I don't think you're supposed to throw away rubble in your normal bins
you
anyway.
Get told off,
you get
I'm
fined
fairly
by Weatherfield
sure.
Council if you do that, yeah.
Yeah.
So Eileen later on tells Billy that it is Todd who's been in a hit and run at the hospital. It took us a while before we got into the episode, before it was revealed who the victim.
Before we even really knew whether they had indeed hit anybody.
Yes, but it's Todd. Oh no, he was out. I can't remember what was the excuse he gave. He had a headache, or he had to go and clear his head or something. Some reason he was out walking around at 5:15 in the morning.
Is there an implication that he was up to something?
I don't think so. There might have been. He always is. But this time it was just, no, he was just walking out at 5:15 in the morning, as you do. And I think they're all saying, oh, it was dark, so I couldn't say anything. Oh, I don't know. But anyway, David tells Shona that Abby's going to be able to fix this dent because he's had a bit of a word with her and she's a mechanic and all that. It's going to be okay. And then Sarah comes in and says, oh, I've just heard that it's been Todd who's been in an accident. And David's like, Shona, are you sure it was an accident? Your mortal enemy as of last week because he drove a hearse onto the curb outside our house. And Shona's like, no, I definitely didn't mean to do it. Maybe we should go and tell the police. And then David says, no, you can't do that. You shouldn't have even been driving. Is this supposed to be because of her shot in a box thing? That she's not allowed to drive a car?
She's got a brain injury.
Poor judgment when driving and among other times.
Oh yeah, I mean, if your response to, oh dear, I've just hit something with my car, is to drive home and tell your husband, oops, I may have killed a man or a hedgehog.
Well,
Perhaps that's bad judgment.
She was pretty panicky when she came home, didn't she?
I know, because hedgehogs are cute.
Although I did quite enjoy her switch in personality at this point, or it was at some point that she's there worried, and then the doorbell goes, and she's like, "Oh, it's the doorbell. Maybe it's my gym equipment or something."
That's right.
Anyway, David says, "Look, you're going to get sent down if you go and confess to the police. You shouldn't have been driving. Let's dump the car somewhere. We don't even know whether Todd saw you, so I think it's just best all round if we pretend it was stolen. And Abby, this is when Abby comes round. She's put two and two together. She's heard about Todd being hit. She's seen the Todd-shaped bump.
She's an expert in cars.
Yeah. Oh, and also damaging cars herself, so she knows all.
Just damaging everything.
Didn't she? I'm sure that she attacked a car a few months ago with a hammer or something for some reason.
She did,
Nothing happened from it. Anyway, Shona admits to Abby that it was her driving,
it was
not David.
Somebody that took the car into the garage, didn't it, to get fixed, and then it got smashed with a hammer by Abby. Can you imagine if you took your car to the local garage and then when you came to pick it up, they were like, "Oh, sorry, it's going to be a bit longer because we've got to replace your bonnet." Because one of our mechanics went mad and hit it with a hammer.
She's bereaved. You got to let her have this one. Abby says, "Right, I'm going to stay quiet about this, but if Todd doesn't pull through, I'm going to go straight to the police about it."
So
and
really
still at this point, we didn't really have any idea about how Todd was doing, but yet we're talking about, is he going to pull through? Is he going to die? So as viewers, we were left, our imaginations were left to run wild at this point. But we do get to see Todd at that point waking up. We get a Todd vision, don't we, with a little bit of a blur and an eye opening, and who's there to welcome him back into the world of the living but his dear mummy Eileen, who's basically just round there to make sure that he's not shuffled off his mortal coil, and then says, "This doesn't change anything. Still hate you.
Still hate you.
I'm off. Goodbye.
Bye, son." No,
she says that this doesn't change anything. So Shona sees Sarah Louise later, who tells her the news about Todd, and Shona is like, "Oh, don't go and see Todd straight away, Sarah," because she's still trying to figure out how they're going to get their story straight. Officer Craigie comes round to number 8 later on and wants... he's just like doing door-to-doors or something, isn't he? Like, at 5:15 this morning, round the corner from your house, somebody was hit by a car. Did you happen to see anyone?
I think this is what they would do.
Would they?
They came to our house when somebody got murdered.
But this was like at a time when most people would be tucked up in bed asleep, and it was round the corner.
Oh, what? So, okay. So what you would prefer is the police to go, "Do you know what? I'm pretty sure that nobody saw anything. Let's just not investigate because..."
Maybe. I think Weatherfield police just send Craig off on these little jollies just to get him out of their hair. Like, "Oh, it's another crime on Coronation Street, Craig. You go and deal with this." I think that they've just put police tape around the whole of Coronation Street and says, "We're not going to solve any crimes in there. We'll let Officer Craig sort that one out because it's like a little police quarantine zone or something." And just go wild, Craig. Because lots of people I've seen on the internet are saying, Craig shouldn't really be investigating crimes in his own street where he knows everybody. And I think that's true. I don't know any police officers myself, but people I've seen saying, no, he absolutely would not be allowed to do this.
That's weird because back in the day, wasn't there like a Bobby on the beat and the local copper who knew everybody, and that was the acceptable. And then because he knew everybody and what was going on.
But I don't think he was friends with everybody.
I don't think he was mortal enemies with them either.
I don't know, but... yeah, Craig probably shouldn't be doing it. He also, when he arrests David later on in the week, spoiler alert, he's like, "Sorry, David, but I got to arrest you." When was the last time you saw a policeman apologise, grovel to you before you got arrested?
Perhaps they should do that more often.
I don't think Craig is a great policeman.
I just wanted to say, if in case anyone was interested in the murder that I mentioned, it was the murder of Hannah Foster.
Oh, yeah.
So if you'd like to Google that case, we did actually get questioned by the police.
We did.
They came round to ask us if we'd seen anything, and they were absolutely adamant they would catch the person immediately. I think they were trying to psych us out.
So anyway, Craig's like, "Do you know anything about his accident?" Shona is acting incredibly shifty, which somehow manages to go under the radar of Craig's expert, soon-to-be detective-level skills. Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to him training up to be a CID?
Obviously nothing. And obviously they said, look, okay, these people in this particular part of Weatherfield are shady as hell, and we can't get a read on them. We sent our best people. We sent Fringe McBangs.
Oh, yeah? Are you happy to see her again this week?
We sent the other one, what's her face? And they can't get anything out of them. We need a local. We need to infiltrate them. We'll send Craig because he knows them. And then Craig goes around and Shona's going, no, we didn't see anything. And he completely is like, fine. She's acting completely normally. There's nothing weird about this situation at all. I will take this one off of my list. Off I go to the next house.
So, Yasmin. Yes. Fringe McBands, it was good. Which story was she in? She was in the Dobbs story, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I had seen before we watched the episode, somebody had tweeted us saying that our favourite police officer is back, and I was my heart was a little bit of flutter for whether it was going to be D.S. McKinnon. But Abney, she's quite out there. She's good. Anyway, David says, "We're both asleep when this accident happened. Sorry, we can't help you." So he goes off to go and see Todd at the hospital next, does David, and he takes the opportunity to apologise for the arguing over the car parking slots and everything last week. And Todd says, "Well, I know it was Shona that was driving." He just kind of drops that in there. He very gleefully rubs it in David's face that he knows exactly who it was that put him in here. And he goes off on a bit of a blackmailing spree. He says, "Oh, you'll know soon enough what I want," which let people across the internet wonder about what it could be that Todd actually wants. So David goes home and tells Shona this, and so they're left at the end of Monday's episode wondering what exactly Todd's going to try and squeeze out of them.
It's not blackmail, it's a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Wednesday, it doesn't take too long. Shona's not been able to sleep again. She still wants to hand herself in to the police, and David says, "No, remember, that's a bad idea. You don't want to get sent down to prison. No.
Well, he would know.
Oh yeah, he would. Well, she's no stranger to prison as well, though she's usually be on the visiting end with old Clayton. Todd comes to the door saying his ears must have been burning or something. He's let himself out of hospital and he's come to impose himself on David and Shona.
Well, he's basically homeless at the moment.
He's telling you. Well, he said that he was living with George because Eileen washed her hands of him for the umpteenth time last week, and he said he's going to stay with George, but his excuse for not enjoying that this week was he's got terrapins. As an ex-terrapin owner, Gemma, would that have been enough to have stopped somebody from staying at your house?
I'm not going to lie,
Are they noisy?
Smell a bit funky, and if they're having a swim, they can clonk about a bit. I don't know, maybe he was sleeping in the front room. Because they clonk about in their shells.
Yeah. Gemma, when I first got to know Gemma and I went round to her house for the first time, you had all your terrapins. You had like a lizard, didn't you?
Got an iguana, a leopard gecko, 3 terrapins.
Did you get them during the 90s Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles phase?
I don't know why we got them. I don't think I got them because I wanted Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. My parents.
They're now living happily at a university or something somewhere, aren't they?
Yeah, and we had Xenopus frogs and African snails.
So Todd wouldn't have liked staying at your house, basically.
And we also had a skink as well called Floyd.
You had loads of pets, and you had an evil rabbit.
Yeah, I had an evil
rabbit.
Dogs,
cats.
Yeah, we used to also breed chihuahuas, and we had an aviary with lovebirds and budgies.
Oh. And now we've just got
and
a cat
quails.
called... no, not...
You thought you were going to get to know.
So, Todd's telling David his list of demands, which starts off with, "I want a bed to stay." And I think David says, "Oh, we're not mates or anything." And Todd says, "We are now." Shona's fallen over herself to help Todd out and agree to all his demands because she doesn't want to get sent down.
No.
And he's got his feet right under the table later on. Craig comes round again, says, "Oh, David, we found your car. It's been dumped outside of a pub, and there's a massive dent in it." Oh, and so they kind of say the story that it must have been stolen and joyridden or something.
Into Todd.
Maybe it hit something or someone. They're worried that they're going to get caught. Todd says, "I don't care how you explain it, and I'd like a chippy tea for tonight, please."
Oh, lovely. Wonder what he wants.
Sarah goes looking for David later, saying, "Have you seen Todd?" Because I think that by this point they don't realise that Todd has discharged himself from the hospital, and David's acting all shady about it. But then Todd phones up Sarah and says, "Look at me, I'm round David's house. Come and say hello."
The question I have is, did they get their chippy tea?
Yes, probably.
Oh.
She is very suspicious as to why Todd is hanging around and lying lower at number 8 at the moment. And then they have a few nice little scenes together, do Sarah and Todd, on Wednesday's episode. And I think it's something that they should do more of, considering how they have got history and everything. And then this is when Craig comes and arrests David for perverting the course of justice and failing to report a traffic incident.
Oh no.
Oh no. Break. Shona and Sarah think that Todd has shopped David in, and he says, "No, it wasn't me. I didn't do it." It turns out that apparently the car was picked up on some security cameras, and that Craig's like, I was reviewing the footage and I recognised your car anywhere, David.
Yeah, because they had ANPR. Automatic number plate recognition.
Oh, yeah. But the interesting thing is that there's on this bump in the car, the colour matches. No, the car's colour matches the paint that was found on Todd when he was hit. So it appears that he was in what done it.
Do you think that they deliberately manufacture paint to fleck off when you crash your car? Because I can't see how car paint comes off when you hit a person. What did Todd have on him? Like, was he carrying scaffolding around, or
I don't know.
What was he up to?
Yeah, mate, how has
paint got off onto him? I know
Very
he's
convenient.
thin, but he's not like angular, is he?
Well, I'd like to know what the severity of this accident was as well, because he seems like pretty fine, really. But the fact that a bit of paint was transferred onto him.
Yeah, he's hit so hard with this car that he's got paint off the car.
And it's made a massive dent.
And he's got blood on his face, and he's in hospital. But it's not so bad that he can't just get out of hospital whenever he wants.
And not so dramatic that they might actually want to show it on Coronation Street. So that was just a standard run-of-the-mill car accident.
Later, won't we?
Yes, we will. So this is where Sarah has this scene with Todd, and she's like, oh, you're never going to change. She has a massive go at him and says, how do you live with yourself? Blah, blah, blah. What you did to Paul and Billy and Summer was awful. Why can't you change? And he's like, I tried to change, but as soon as I saw Billy and Paul together, I realised I had to win him back, whatever the cost. And now they're better off without me, and so's my mum. Craig tells David, because this is the police station now, that Shona has come into the station shouting her mouth off, and she's been arrested. She's been just held in a little side room somewhere. But anyway, you can go now, David, because new evidence has come in. And David at first thinks that Shona has handed herself in, and this is what the new evidence is, but it transpires that little guardian angel Todd has taken a trip to the Weatherfield police station and said, oh no, it wasn't that sort of car that hit me, it was something else. It was the same colour, but it wasn't that same model of car. And that seems to not only get David off the hook, but the whole thing just seems to be dropped from this point onwards.
Craig's like, well, in that case, I don't have a clue.
I don't bloody know.
If it was not him, it can't have been anybody.
Right, car? Yeah.
That's it. I give up. I quit. I'm going to do a different case now.
Case closed.
I'm going to look into this Jack the Ripper guy.
Well, no, it's because the Fizz needs arresting, doesn't she, on Friday?
There's other police work to do around here. It's more serious.
Yeah, I try my best, David, but
there's an arsonist on the loose.
Yeah.
So
so they're back at home later, and they're all very grateful for Todd for not dobbing them in. And he's decided that he's going to move on. Shona tells David, we need to do something to make Todd stay because he's such an upstanding chap. They go and grab Eileen from the pub, who catches Todd at the tram station and is like, no, don't go. I want you to come home. So it seems like this whole little 2-episode vignette was a rather over-dramatic way of getting Todd to stay in Weatherfield on the street for a little bit longer. As is wants to happen on Coronation Street. Whatever happens to
just talking it out.
Yeah. Friday, this is where it kind of changes tack a little bit, and if you didn't hate Billy going into Friday's episode, surely you will by the end of Friday.
What are they doing?
I think I've been fairly tolerant of Billy.
Me too.
I've not enjoyed it. I really liked Billy when he came into the show, and people started saying I don't like Billy. He's a bit preachy, a bit bit possessive, a bit pretentious, and many other things. But I was like, no, he's fine. And over the past 6 months to a year, I've been like, oh yeah, I can kind of see what you're doing. But goodness me, he was awful. Wasn't he a massive arse?
He was a massive arse
on Friday. So,
and talking of pretentious, I can't believe he got away with serving gazpacho at the mobile soup kitchen. Can you? It is August, everyone. Don't worry. I know it's not soup season, but it is gazpacho season. Help yourselves, everyone. It's made with peppers and tomatoes. It's good for you.
So you know how archdeacons are all about serving at the soup kitchen?
I don't know, because nobody knows what an archdeacon does, and that's why Coronation Street picked that job.
Random acts of charity.
It's not a random act of charity. They had a van.
He's got a logo on and everything.
Yeah.
So this is for Todd's community payback that it's being called.
I know, it sounds like it. It
I've
sounds like
never
revenge.
heard of that expression. Yeah, it's
Isn't
like,
this what David
you
did
sent
when he
me
went
down. You did the jurors conspired
hunt you down one by one and sweep your front
and
lawn.
pay you back by serving you soup that's too hot and you're going to burn the roofs of your mouths.
And it's also minestrone.
Oh yeah, it was minestrone soup.
Minestrone with penne pasta in it.
It's nice and chunky
Hearty.
and hearty, and yes, yeah, it keeps you going.
Community payback.
So he's got his orange jumpsuit or whatever on, hasn't he? And
It's a what's it?
that was a
It's
tabard.
jacket.
Yeah, he turns up to the Victoria Court flats where the soup kitchen is being run from on the table because that's where all the homeless people in Weatherfield go.
How much of a fuss they kicked up when they were going to put a halfway house in, and they're perfectly happy for a soup kitchen.
Yeah, I know.
And also,
I would have thought that they might, go to the slums of Weatherfield,
I think they are in the slums of Weatherfield.
or just go and camp out outside the backyard of Gemma's house or something. You probably get a better clientele there.
Where was this when Sean was homeless? Who would have loved that?
There was a soup kitchen going on when
I know,
Sean
but
was
it wasn't
homeless.
on.
It wasn't on the street, no, because
And
they were allowed
also-
to film outside then.
I just need to point out too that there is a very prominent sign. I believe, perhaps I'm remembering this wrong, right where they were pitched up.
Oh yes,
Victoria. That's the Victoria Court car park for all the residents. It says no parking.
You're absolutely right. I didn't remember that. Yeah, because
Because it doesn't apply to me. I'm the archdeacon, actually, of
Well,
all of.
it is my divine
Weatherfield.
right to be able to park here, actually,
Yeah.
and serve soup to the
That's
homeless
what
of
Jesus
Weatherfield.
would want. Jesus doesn't like petrol cars.
Yeah,
We all know
so
this.
Todd turns up for his community payback, and what do you know? It's Billy there that's running it. What a coincidence! You never see Billy doing this, and the one day of the year that he does is when when his ex-boyfriend is there to help out, and Todd's
And
like,
he's like, hottest day of the year. Do you know what struck me? I think God would want me to serve soup.
but he wouldn't want you to serve soup,
No,
Todd.
do you know what?
Bug off.
He's actually telling me that he'd rather everyone starve to death than you help me.
Billy just throws a massive hissy fit, doesn't he?
He's such a drama queen.
Refuses to let Todd have
Yeah.
anything to do with this.
It's like,
for,
even though
the first episode.
you're legally mandated, it's not like you've come rocked up and just stuck your oar in for no reason. Legally, we are both required for you to work here at the soup kitchen. But I would rather shut the whole thing down. Everyone go, and like all the homeless people there going, oh, okay, perhaps I'm going to be a Buddhist now.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't shut the thing down, does he? But he
basically
rather than
says,
just saying, look, you go and do your thing and I'll do my thing.
Yeah.
They just have a massive stand-up argument in the middle of the street.
And there is a queue of people behind waiting for their soup.
Yeah. He was just so selfish.
arsey. Yeah, he is
basically
arsey.
during
Selfish
this.
arse.
Todd gets sent to the cafe and where he finds Mary, who learns about what's been going on. Mary tries to get Billy to forgive Todd, but he's like, "No, I'm not going to show the Christian virtue of forgiveness, Mary, and you can bog off as well."
I know. It's like he doesn't. It's like he doesn't trust himself to be around Todd because he's like, listen. He's a sexy fox, and if I'm anywhere near him, I'm going to be seduced again by the way that he ladles his minestrone. You don't understand, Mary. He's got animal magnetism. I can't be trusted.
I think he does eventually let him back anyway, because we later see him mopping up some soup off a table that's definitely soup and not sick.
Well, he said there used to be a game show called Sick or Soup, which I think actually sounds great, and I would like to see that as part of I'm a Celebrity, and the way you can tell it's a taste test.
Oh yeah.
It's better than them eating
Todd's
live
just
animals.
being his usual self and making wisecracks about it, and Billy's like, "This isn't funny." Although I'm sure earlier in the episode he'd been saying that this is something fun. I can't remember who he was talking
Yeah, he did.
to.
He said to me, "It's supposed to be fun." It's like you are an asshole.
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's not a bit of a laugh to go and give people food.
I'm sure that it's enjoyable in
It's
a way.
It's supposed to be
It gives you a nice,
rewarding and
glowy,
edifying.
warm feeling in your soul.
I know, but it's not supposed to be fun.
Well, it's not.
It's not
Could
not
think of worse
fun.
things
But you
to do,
shouldn't call
could
it
do.
fun. It's like no.
So Billy has a
It's
go
not
at
the
Todd
right
for
word.
having a joke around, and we're left at the end of this story with Billy saying, "I'm going to make sure we're never on the same shifts again."
Stop making
He's probably going
jokes.
to do that by not ever helping out again.
Yeah, I'm not doing any more charity. You're making it too much fun. There's no point doing charity unless you're miserable and you frown all the way through it and you hate
I really
every
don't
moment.
think that archdeacons run soup kitchens. I don't know.
We don't know what they
obviously,
do
about this.
I don't know what they do. I imagine that they do sermons from cathedrals and probably marry like politicians off, you know, and then they go back to their archdeacon house, which he can't now, and they sort of highlight bits of the Bible, and that's what they do.
Put little post-it notes in.
Yeah, and like the bit that says about not being a dickhead to people, like you know what? I normally highlight things, but I'm just going to get my Sharpie and just cross this bit out because this must be a mistake.
I want to know whether the showrunners, the writers, the storyliners, whoever, know what they're doing to Billy. Are they?
I know. Sometimes I feel the same way about other characters.
Is Dan Brockenbank interpreting it in a certain way? But I mean, the script says for him to say these things, but is he making himself worse than they mean to, or do they not realise, or do they think that maybe he is justified in being annoyed at the fact that Todd's there because, you know, he is his ex and
I know,
everything.
but it's like you're not professional.
It feels like there's an awful lot more nastiness from Billy than there is
anything else.
And if pure-hearted Christian kindness.
He used to be a lot sweeter and nicer, I'm really sure. And he used to smile more.
He did. He really, really did. He's just angry all the time now. And yes, he's got stuff to be angry about, but I don't know. If I was working on Coronation Street, I'm not saying they'd do a better job, but I wonder whether they listen to... Because there's been a lot of criticism of Billy, hasn't there, over the past couple of years. Do they listen to it and go, I don't care? Or do they listen to it and go, good, that's what I wanted? Or...
Well, this is the thing. Not every character's there to be liked, are they? And sometimes it's important to have those characters. But I wouldn't have said that it's really important for us to dislike Billy.
No, I don't think so. And I get the idea of, he's a vicar, but he's bad. Isn't that exciting?
But he's not bad, is he? He's just an arsehole.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can be an arsehole. There's nothing special about an archdeacon that's an
I just get a feeling that we're still supposed to be liking him and going, yeah, Billy, you tell him.
I think it doesn't help that we like Todd. And we're like, how dare you? How dare you? He's just trying to help.
Yeah. It was a shame, really, because I had been enjoying the Todd stuff on the Monday and Wednesday episode. Again, when he's away from the whole love triangle thing, which is the same as we said from Paul when he had that brief escape earlier this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as he starts interacting with Billy again, it's just like, I'm not enjoying watching this fallout. And it's not just because I want them to get back together and everything. And it seemed like, I think a few weeks, was it even last week, we were saying, maybe it's possible that he's going to worm his way back into Billy's life.
But you see, this makes me think it is still possible because they're making a massive deal about how much Billy's cross with him.
He doth protest too much. Maybe. Okay, so the Shona stuff then, we've been putting this off a little bit. What was our reactions to the whole start on Monday? Because it seems like half the internet thought that they were missing an episode.
A lot of people did think, it was a very unusual way to begin, and because soaps can be very formulaic, whenever you mess with that, you can just confuse people.
To be honest, I'll hold my hand up and say when we started watching this, because we were watching it on iPlayer, I was thinking, hang on a minute, did we press the wrong episode? I thought, no, we couldn't have done, because, you know, the first episode of the two always has the whole theme music.
Yeah.
And everything.
That's
so it didn't last for long, but it did flash through my brain, have we missed an episode here?
The other problem that they've got here is that previous to this episode, we were of the impression that each episode was following on from the one before it. They kind of established this weird time line
in
Corrie,
only 3 days in a week.
Yeah, everything happens. Each episode is the day after.
It's also like, if you don't see it, it hasn't happened.
Yep.
So I don't mind them playing around with the formula sometimes, and once, you know, 5 seconds I've got into the episode and I realised, they're doing this, I thought, okay, that's pretty fine. It was nice that it was an action-packed start to the week. I just was thinking, I wish we'd seen the car accident.
I don't get that at all, because I first of all, I like the way they started it. I like it when they take, do a little bit of something different, take a little bit of a risk. I mean, it was an unusual way to begin the episode. I enjoyed it because it was, immediately established urgency and conflict. But I don't get people saying that they wanted to see the crash because it was establishing a mystery.
But they could have done that whilst seeing the crash. Now, I've seen some people saying,
really clumsy
some
and
people
awful.
have said, no, I get how they probably couldn't do it for COVID reasons. Well, straight away, I'm going to
don't
say,
think
I
that's
don't
true.
think that that's anything to do with it. They could have had, I mean, if you got a car window between you, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
But the very first stunt that they did on Coronation Street post-return filming was that
somebody being hit with a car.
Sarah Lou being hit by a car in the whole mannequin incident.
Yeah.
Well,
to be fair, maybe they did watch that and go, right, we won't do that again.
They absolutely could have shown it, but I think that they could have got the same mystery, and even more so maybe if they'd have shown, if it had started off with Shona driving in the car, that would have got the whole, oh, hang on a minute, what's going here? And then if there had been a bump, and we'd seen her going, oh, what was that, and then driving off quickly, and then coming back home.
I liked it. I really enjoyed it, because the thing about Shona is that she has still got this brain injury, and you're not really sure how she's interpreting things and whether it's a big deal or not. And it's more mysterious to me, because you in that scene, you were David. You weren't Shona. You're experiencing it from David's perspective.
Yeah.
And he is worried about Shona all the time because of how she's not really capable, of looking after herself that well. And she's gone off in a car, and God, now she's come back and she doesn't know she's hit somebody. That is more dramatic and interesting a perspective than Shona. Because how would they have played it? Would they have played it like Shona's like, la la la, bump, la la la, What would they, how would they have...
I don't know.
I just think it was really interesting to have... because you are David in that scene, and then Shona bursts in like, oh my gosh, and then suddenly instead of you being in the car with Shona and going, oh dear, if we hit somebody, you're there with David going, oh God, anything could have happened. She could have hit she could have hit a blooming kid or something. It was more sudden urgency and intense mystery than it would have been if you had seen the accident. Because I think if you'd seen her in the car, you would have gone, well, they're not going to have this just for her running over a duck.
I suppose the problem, as was often the case, is that I'd seen a spoiler beforehand that Todd gets hit by a car from Shona. Had you seen that?
See, I wonder whether that's what people are like, oh, I was excited and looking forward to seeing Todd get run over, and now I've missed out.
No, I see what you're saying. It still felt like it was cheaping out a little bit for me, but I get, if you look at it from... This is from David's point of view, then.
I think it's just
that makes sense.
You don't have to see everything. I understand, but also sometimes I find, this is the other argument I'm going to put forward, the amount of stunts and things that just are damp scripts, and you watch them, you're like, oh, okay, and somebody's rolling off a car that's barely moving and falling to the ground, and then somebody stands next to them, at a 2 metre distance.
It can't
and goes,
all be catapulted
oh,
through
no.
the air like Kathy Matthews.
Yeah, I'd rather they kept stunts irregular and bombastic than have lots of mundane, and it always is somebody bumping off of a slowly moving car.
Well...
But I understand what you're saying. This is my counterpoint.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think if I hadn't read beforehand that Todd was going to get hit by a car, it would have been a bit more exciting. But I also would say that people getting hit by a car isn't as exciting, and this is what I always say, as it used to be.
Well, that's
because
my point.
But
this is
partly
a more
because
exciting way of showing it then. Because we've seen people get hit by cars.
It used to be more of a life and death sort of thing, didn't it? People are getting... I mean, there's 2 or 3 times a year now somebody gets hit by a car.
I know, it's an epidemic.
I can't remember whether it was earlier this year or late last year that Summer got hit by the car, that time after Will was knocking at the piano.
Do you think that car accidents on Coronation Street are like a metaphor for COVID? Because nobody's got COVID on Coronation Street, have they?
No.
At all. Nobody has got it and been fine. or gone to hospital or anything, but everyone's been hit by a car at least once. And like in the last, 18 months, I would say more likely that you've had COVID than been hit by a car.
Just
an idea.
Weatherfield, yeah. No, I just think that they need to ease off on some of these things, because there's like,
well, I'm going to say the same thing.
Well,
a lot of it,
another car accident.
It's far too sensational sometimes.
Yeah.
And we've got now the other problem is,
if it's going to be something sensational, though, make it actually sensational. Like you were talking earlier, that time when David drove his car up the ramp and then it exploded, and then Anna Windas's leg sat on fire.
Okay, well,
that's how you make a car accident interesting. But they've got themselves.
Say they've got a £10,000 budget for people being hit by a car.
Yeah.
Right. I'd rather they spent £10,000 on one really good person hit by a car than £1,000 on bumping people slightly with the Vauxhall Corsa.
I don't know. Anyway, that's that then, isn't it? It did lead to some fun blackmailing from Todd. I thought that the story kind of was a bit of a quick build-up, because it was only last Friday that we heard about this traffic problem on the street, which is probably going to
it's weird
go
because,
back to normal now that they've had the accident.
Was the whole thing just so that Shona could bump Todd with her car?
Well, the whole thing was so that Todd could have an excuse not to leave Weatherfield. Which is always happens, doesn't it? Like somebody says they're going to go, and then they have
get
to be
hit by a car.
Something that makes somebody realise, oh no, actually I don't want you to go.
Life would be terrible without you.
It was fairly obvious as soon as we found out that Todd had been hit. I mean, as soon as I read about it on the internet last week, I thought, oh, this is just so that Eileen can tell him to stay in Weatherfield after all, which is what happens. So hooray, everything's back to normal there. So I was wondering what extent Todd's blackmail to David would be. I thought perhaps because David's pals with Paul, whether Todd would try and get in his arch nemesis Paul via David. Like, could David persuade Paul to leave Weatherfield, or
that would have been
something.
A better use of his time, wouldn't it?
I don't know, but yeah. In the end, it just amounted to, can I have somewhere to stay? Even though he already had somewhere to stay. This is the thing. I don't really get what was wrong with George and the Terrapins, but never mind. So is Todd changed now? He did yet again. He seemed like he genuinely wanted to change. This is the problem with a character like this, isn't it? If you change too much, then you become a bit too boring and bland, which is what people are saying a little bit is going on with Tracy at the moment. Since settling down with Steve, she's lost a little bit of the fire and the spite and the nastiness and whatever that she once had, and she isn't as fun as she used to be.
Yeah.
But it's certainly, laying dormant within her to pull it out again at the drop of a hat, and maybe that's just how they're going to do it with Todd, because he can't all the time be scheming and nasty. Because I don't think people are, and especially if they want to keep him as a long-term character, they've got to give him some stories where he's just a normal guy.
Yep.
But I think that maybe bringing Sarah Louise in could be a good way to remind him of his humanity.
I mean, it would make sense if we ease off on on Todd being manipulative for a few months and then come back to it.
There's still this underlying issue of who's Billy going to properly end up with, because we didn't see Paul at all this week, did we?
No.
I would have thought that, I don't know, maybe we would have had Billy going home and having a big old moan to Paul about Todd and the soup kitchen, and Paul going, oh, always going on about Todd. I don't know.
Are they dating?
Oh no, they're not, are they? No. Paul at the end of last week's or whenever it was decided that he's too good for Billy or something.
I don't know.
I don't know.
This was just a bit of a weird, janky kind of sellotape together story, I think. Lots of it doesn't make sense. Like, why was Todd out? That's a weird thing. We don't really know the answer to, but it makes you wonder, which is a bad thing in a story. You don't want people to be wondering about inconsequential details. you don't want anything to stick out too much.
No,
that
it reminded
isn't
me a little bit
part
of
your story.
It reminded me a little bit of when they had the factory roof collapse, and it turned out that Nick was on an early morning jog, and there were various
but they did
reasons
set-
why characters were
Yeah,
out. Which
they set that up, didn't they?
that was set up better, and with this,
Because-
it was just like, oh yeah, Shona was just moving her car, and it
Like,
didn't.
why? Well, fuck, what was 5? And
Well,
why
but
was
she
Todd
says
out?
she saw a space, didn't she? It was
I know,
all
but-
just very, very coincidental.
Yeah.
So it didn't work quite
Yeah.
so well.
Coincidences, are always going to be manufactured in soaps, but sometimes they're a bit too glaring, and this was weird, and
But it was okay.
it was fine. It just
was
felt,
fine.
like I said, it just felt like it was sellotape together.
It's nice to have David and Shona and Sarah having scenes again, because David and Shona, they're just they've been off the radar.
Background characters.
They've been really, really background characters,
Yeah.
which is always weird. And also is as weird is the fact that Gail is still away. Literally, when Gail said, "I'm going to Thailand," I was like, "No, she's not. No, she's not." And then next week she's like, "Oh, blimey, she is going.
She's gone.
She'll be back soon." And like, I've got no idea when Gail's coming back. She's obviously, fingers crossed, not left for good. She's not done an Emily Bishop here.
Yeah,
But
maybe
you
she's
never know.
She could die on a beach.
Maybe.
Drugs overdose.
Anyway, we'll see what happens there. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I've written here that orange is maybe Mary's third favourite colour, which I thought was
Again,
quite a funny
another
quote.
bad plotting, because it just makes you wonder
That
what are the top two.
that's what makes it funnier for me.
I know,
and I
that's the
I
joke.
can't stand Mary a lot of the time at the moment.
Really?
But yeah.
So mean.
But that particular line did tickle my funny bone a little bit, where she's like, "That's my third favourite colour." It's just like, do you rank all the colours, Mary?
Literally every single one. Where's Puce?
Right, Gemma. Speaking of orange, let's go to the Flames of Burn Baby Burn story. I'll pass
Poor
over to you.
Alina.
Nah, I'm still really, really finding it difficult to have any sympathy for Alina.
I feel really bad
I
for
don't.
her.
I don't. Anyway,
Right,
go on.
okay,
What's
fine.
been going on?
On Monday, Evelyn sees Tyrone is moving back in, and she's been texted by Fizz, and she rings back, but she won't pick up. And Tyrone says, "Oh, Fizz is at Silla's looking after her." And Evelyn's like, "That's strange. How come she just left without saying goodbye to me or Ruby?" Fizz phones from her hidey hole, which is just outside Manchester.
It did. I don't know whether I'm making this up, but when I was seeing them there, I was like, "Is this the place that Nick and Leanne and Simon stayed at? Is it the same set?"
I think
I was trying to find some video clips of it, and I know that those characters went to like 2, maybe
Yeah.
even 3 different places when they were on the run this year. But just seeing that really reminded me of Simon there with his Xbox or whatever it was he was playing with, and
I think
I'm sure it's not, because Corrie would never do anything like that. But
I
maybe
think she
one day.
followed the signs that said hideout, and
Yeah.
just naturally ended up in the one place.
Going around the ring road and then took the hideout exit. Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Great. She says she's getting desperate. She doesn't have a plan, but she's going to talk to Evelyn and Ruby later and put them straight, which means that she's going to lie to them about what's going on.
Yeah, she's only in contact with Tyrone at the beginning of the week,
Yeah.
isn't she? She's telling Ty this. And we were wondering last week how much Evelyn knew or how much she suspected.
She definitely knows something's going on, but she hasn't put things together. Because it's a bit of a weird thing to jump to. So, this keyring is still missing, but it was found in Hope's basket in her box.
Along with Emily Brontosaurus.
So Tyrone and Fizz have found it, but Alina still thinks it's missing. But then Tyrone gives it to her and says, "Oh, I found it in my other jacket. It can't have been Fizz," because Alina suspected Fizz because she thought she'd stolen the keys and let herself in. So Alina says, "Well, in that case, I'll phone the police and tell them that I was wrong."
I feel so bad about accusing
so
Fizz.
sad. I'm so sorry. Tyrone tells Alina, "Hooray, Emma's moving back in." And she says, "I've told the police that it wasn't Fizz, but it doesn't change the fact that somebody still tried to kill me." Craig comes round and he's like, "Hi, did you remember that you were trafficked? Because I was thinking about this and it probably was them. Anyway, bye." Then he comes back later and goes, "Guess what? Do you remember that woman that was in charge of all the traffic girls, like you, Rachel, the evil one who shot Jan? She's out." You're going to ask her some questions
How
about...
long ago was that? Like 2 years ago, that story? It can't have been 3.
It's okay, look. It wasn't her gun. Or maybe it was her gun. But she didn't kill anybody.
I was very surprised to hear that Rachel has been let out quite so soon, considering what she was involved in and the fact that she shot somebody and could have killed them. Released within 2 years? I don't know.
She gave evidence to help them stop all human trafficking in the world.
Oh, that's quite good then.
So they said, okay, 2 years. So anyway, they talked to her in the station, and then he's like, oh no, I forgot all about this, that I was once a slave. Because you treat me so well, Tyrone, I only have to make you dinner every day, once a day, so it's not like being a slave at all.
Remember when I was a sweet, innocent slave that poor Seb had to rescue before I was an evil, sexy temptress?
Yeah, those were the good old days. I'm worried that we are in danger. So on Wednesday, I mean, she knew she was in danger because somebody set fire to her. So
I think she's in super danger now, though.
Super danger.
Yeah, some evil crim has got a hit out on
Well,
her.
no, it's not just that they're criminals, Michael. They're organised. Organised crime. It's a bit more serious than sporadic crime. On Wednesday, Alina is trying to hunt Rachel down online. Weirdly, she hasn't updated her Facebook. Hi guys, out of prison. Who's up for drinks? Mind you, I bet some people do have the...
I bet they do.
Tyrone's like, let's move in to my house that I own. That is empty, apart from my gran and my kid.
This house that is definitely my house and was
Yes.
that I got after Jack Duckworth left, but for some reason I'm letting everyone else living there.
So he phones up and says...
Phones up Fizz
and says, look, do you mind if I move into the house that you're not living in right now? And she's like, oh no, Hope's such a nightmare. I'm scared of her burning me to death.
Yeah, Hope's there being very demanding, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. She has been a bit of a
She doesn't
pain.
like being hidden away in the flat.
She doesn't know what's going on.
I was surprised how fine with it Fizz was about Tyrone and Alina moving into their house and presumably doing it in their bed because they can't keep their pants on, can they? She should have at least laid some ground rules here.
She's lost her baby. I don't think that she's feeling amorous.
I don't know.
No. Oh, God.
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
No. Right. Okay. So Fizz says, I don't mind. Ask Evelyn, because she actually lives there. Tyrone goes around and says, can we move in? Evelyn's like, not very impressed with this. But then Alina comes in and says, oh, I've been trying to get in touch with some of the people from the nail bar. But then she sees Rachel trying to get into the salon. And Rachel turns around and sees her. And it's like, oh no!
That was just random and weird, wasn't
so odd.
it? Oh, what are the chances? I've been hunting for you, Rachel, and now you are looking through the window at the salon. And then she has a couple of scenes, then goes off again.
So Rachel has been spoken to by the police, so she knows that Alina has been a victim of arson. So she then decides to go to the salon where she knows that Alina works to just say, it definitely wasn't me, which doesn't seem at all suspicious.
The police probably would have said, don't try and contact her, the victim of your evil trafficking.
Well,
but maybe if it was Craig that was talking to her, he probably just forgot.
Yeah, and he's probably like, look, I won't mind if you do, but you shouldn't, really. I won't hold it against you. Rachel's like, oh, I was a victim too. Just because I benefited financially and materially from your enslavement doesn't mean that I was not also part of the same tragic system of...
She did have... What?
Coercion.
There was that other guy, wasn't there? That was it her boyfriend or something? That was the one that was really running the show.
So what?
But it didn't. I in my head, I don't really look back on it and think that Rachel was the innocent victim.
Yeah,
in
it's
all
like,
this.
calm down, Myra Hindley. Shut up. You're just as much a part of it. Anyway, she says, "Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't me. I didn't set fire to your flat. I'm just trying to find out what happened." And Nina says, "Stay away from me." So she goes to number 9 and says, it definitely wasn't Rachel. Oh, it was not Rachel because she had a hospital appointment.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what does that mean? People don't turn up to hospital appointments all the time.
Straight out of prison.
What was it for? Yeah, what's she going to the hospital for?
I don't know.
She just likes to sit in horrible institutional card-backed waiting rooms. Like, I just really miss the feeling of nobody caring about you and thinking that you're an inconvenience to them. Who else could have started the fire? And Evelyn's like, which often makes me think that it sounds a bit like it was her that did it, but no, it wasn't. It was Hope. This was, when I saw Rachel, I was like, oh, of course. When they were talking about, somebody from her past, I was like, oh, yeah, obviously, it wasn't Hope then. But now,
at this point, though, like I was saying last week, when people were wondering, was it actually Hope or not? I was thinking, well, if Hope is allowing her, Todd and Hope, same character, aren't they? If Hope is allowing herself to be dragged off, at the drop of a hat to go and live in this hidey hole on the outskirts of Manchester, if she hadn't set the fire, she would have said something. And Fizz has apparently been lecturing her about why setting fire to people and places is wrong.
I think she's basically admitted it several times, though, hasn't she?
She has, but there were certain people who were still saying, but what if there's a twist? What if it wasn't her?
This is what I'm just waiting for.
When this whole thing with Rachel came along, I was thinking, well, no, it can't have been Rachel. It wasn't her. And it seemed very odd to me that they bring it back. I mean, I suppose it makes sense in that maybe Alina does have some enemies, but then when you think about it too much and you start thinking, why would Rachel come out straight away? Why would she go around there and set fire to the house? It just didn't add up, and I hope that there's more to it. Do I hope that there's more to it than this? I don't really know.
Because it just feels like a bunch of...
It felt like a waste of time cameo, having Rachel back into it, if it was just to say, want me, Gov.
Yeah, it feels like they had a returning artist budget and they couldn't get the actress who plays Kirsty, and they're like, oh, we've got this money. What should we do? Should we run Todd over? Should we get Rachel back? People will want to see Rachel more than they want to see Todd run over. Let's get her back.
People want to see Jan. If you're going to have any returns from the trafficking storyline, bring back Jan.
Would have loved Jan to come back.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
Sorry, Rachel.
Vedi Rachel shot Jan. That's why he left in the end, wasn't it? Because she shot him, and then he takes himself to hospital and then discharges himself.
And he wanted to protect Eileen, didn't he?
Yeah, wasn't it Sean went to visit Jan in hospital and was saying... You need to leave Eileen right alone. You've got her into all this danger, and then he swans off. But oh man, I know. Really want Jan to come back. Maybe this is.
It wouldn't have made any sense for him to come back and be like, definitely nobody's trying to set fire to you. Anyway, bye.
Well, I don't know.
Anyway, I wonder if this is the last we'll see of Rachel now. But like you say,
if it is, it seems utterly pointless.
A bit pointless.
They didn't even need to bring up maybe it's the trafficking people, because surely everybody has got multiple enemies living on Coronation Street because of the various stories they've been in the past. It feels like a needless red herring if that's literally it.
But I don't know. So on Friday, Evelyn's trying to phone Fizz so that Ruby can talk to Hope, and Tyler's like, oh no, you can't, and he's just acting really suspicious, and Alina says, I don't want to go back home until the arsonist is caught, and Evelyn suggests, Evelyn and Alina are talking, she's being sympathetic, and Alina's like, I never thought you'd be nice to me, you're normally a horrible bitch, and Evelyn suggests that they, Abby's got that nice garden for Seb. Why don't you do something that doesn't involve throwing soil?
Evelyn has somehow managed to be incredibly nice and understanding and sympathetic to absolutely everybody in this story, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Considering that, some people put her down as being no more than the evil battle axe, the Blanche rip-off, blah, blah, blah.
She's much more three-dimensional.
Yeah,
she's so good.
I think it's a real credit to the character that she's not been taking sides as much as at times it's looked like she has, like when her and Fizz had that movie evening and they basically slag off Tyrone, but
she's just still giving everybody what they need, isn't she? Like she's being Fizz's friend, she's being Tyrone's grandma. Yeah. So she, being more authoritarian with him than she is with Fizz, because Fizz hasn't done anything.
But she's still not completely washing her hands of him. And then even with Alina, she's being totally sympathetic about more than I am. Evelyn's got more of a heart than me about this whole miscarriage thing, and then coming up with the idea of the memorial tribute thing. Lovely.
Yeah. Tyrone has a sneaky phone call to Fizz and leaves an answer phone message saying, I can't stand lying to everybody like this, you've got to come back. And Alina comes round and says that she wants to put some flowers down in Victoria Gardens for the baby. And, this was really sweet because she was saying, you never seem to be upset. And he says, I wanted to be strong for you. And she says, we got to be honest. We got to, you've got to share your feelings. And she says, if we're not honest, our relationship is worth nothing.
It was sweet, but it was also a way for Tyrone to go, oh, I'm having secret phone calls with the ex behind your back.
I know, yeah. Evelyn gets Scylla's number from Chesney and finds it weird that, because Scylla didn't want Chesney and Joseph going down to see her in a few weeks ago, but somehow she's got Fizz and Hope there, so she calls her up and says, can I speak to Fizz? And then she's like, what? On the other end of her phone, like, oh, and somehow Scylla's like explaining it at great lengths, something that normally would only take like
that was a strangely
three words to say. She's not here.
That was a very strangely paced phone call because she's like, hello Scylla, it's me, it's Evelyn, and then about half a second says, I'm fine, how are you? So Scylla said that bit very quickly,
yeah,
and then when she was actually explaining no, Fizz isn't here, it took a strangely long amount of time.
Yeah. Maybe she's going, you know what, she's not here, I haven't seen her for weeks, I'm sick and tired of this kid, raised her, sort of took care of her, I know she was fostered out and all that stuff, but that's water under the bridge now. I just want her to come and look after me and see an idol her.
She's having a great time in Cornwall at the moment, isn't Scylla?
Never sent me so much a Christmas card. It's my birthday the other week. What did I get? Nothing. And Evelyn's like, oh gosh, wish I hadn't asked. So, back at number 9, Evelyn tells Tyrone that it's time to fess up. Where is Fizz? She knows. Tyrone's been shady. He obviously is up to something. Alina's sitting alone with a bunch of flowers in Victoria Gardens with her big-eyed, waifish, sad expression that she's got. Chesney comes over and says that Scylla has been
Chesney was just a fountain of helpful information and to move the plot along.
Exposition boy.
He totally was. Yeah, he was like, yeah, you want Scylla's phone number? Here it is. And later on, guess what? Person who I never ever have a scene with. My mum is on holiday in Cornwall with her new fella at the moment. She's been posting pictures all over social media.
He's not really got any reason to like Alina either.
No.
Or talk to her about his mum's holiday.
No.
I don't talk to most people about my mum's holiday.
Especially not the person who's
having an affair with
stolen me off of you.
Alina's like, that's weird. How come Fizz is only talking to Tyrone? Tyrone's getting desperate with Evelyn and finally admits what's going on and says, I wanted to go to police, but Fizz wanted to go on the run because she said it would make a better story. We might go on the front of the soap magazines. And Evelyn says, this is stupid. Get her to come back. This is more important than you putting flowers in Victoria Gardens, even though this was my idea. The two of them phone Fizz and speak to them, and Evelyn's like, please come home. Alina then sees Fizz and Hope coming into the house and sees Tyrone and Evelyn sort of ushering them in. And, she's furious. I think she must be a bit jealous, and she's also put out because she's supposed to be doing this. So she was supposed to be putting the flowers down, and then she turns around and there's Tyrone with his ex.
Yeah. Yeah,
not really a good look, is it? So she phones up the police.
Well, she phones up Craig, doesn't she? She doesn't 999 it. She's just like, hello Craig, it's me, Alina.
Yeah.
There's another crime on this street.
She's such a grass, isn't she? Fizz tells Tyrone that she needed time to process things and tried to get Hope to realise what she's done, which hasn't worked at all. And Fizz is like, Tyrone, I'm actually scared of her. I thought that was great. Tyrone says, Hope needs help. Then there's a knock on the door and it's DS Abney and it's Craig, old Fringe McBangs. They want to talk to her.
It's the ginger police squad, isn't it?
Yeah,
she's proper ginger as Abney.
I can only picture the shape of her hair. They say, right, we're going to talk to you about the fire down at the station. She gets in the car and she looks accusingly at Tyrone and says, I didn't call them. And Alina walks up, like looking, really, she's like a
triumphant,
furious hamster. and Fizz realises it was her, and Tyrone says, it's time to do the right thing. And it's like, Tyrone, don't say that in front of the cops, idiot. And DS Abby's like, it's all right, I'm technically off the clock at the moment. You say what you like, I won't hold it against you. Not that kind of copper. Inside, Tyrone has a bit of a go at Alina, and she makes him admit that he knew that Fizz wasn't at her mum's. And she says, I know it was Fizz who started the fire, and you've been in on it. And she has a go at Tyrone in the community garden later as well. And eventually he admits that actually he wasn't covering for Fizz, he was covering for Hope. Which suddenly everything slots into place. Because, you know, if you're Alina, you must be completely confused and furious, because none of this makes any sense at all. Why would he be covering for Fizz? They don't really get on that well.
And then she's like, of course, it's your arsonist daughter who did it.
Yes.
No, why didn't I think of that?
Oh, this is the same girl that set fire to the trampoline. That should have made sense at the beginning. So later on at the station, Abney is questioning Fizz. He's crying, a bit worried. Alina says that Alina's like, oh wow, Fizz is making this up to try and get herself off the hook.
Oh yeah, that's right. She doesn't straight away
believe
that it could be arsonist Hope that's done this.
No, she wants to blame Fizz because this is the most convenient and emotionally helpful thing, because she doesn't like Fizz anyway. And she thinks it makes more sense that it was Fizz trying to hurt her on purpose and kill the baby, because she doesn't want this to have been a horrible accident, even if it was arson, you know? So then Tyrone says the worst possible thing, which was, you might have lost the baby anyway. You don't even know if it was the fire.
He's not wrong though, is he? Because she did go into hospital with bad stomach pains.
It's not appropriate, and you don't need to say this.
I think this is maybe how they're going to, let Hope off the hook. The fact that they'll just say, well, yes, she started the fire, and yes, after the fire, Alina lost the baby, but you can't make a direct link between the two of them. You can if you want to.
I know, but she doesn't want to hear this, because if
it's not what you want to hear.
It's never your fault if you have a miscarriage. Obviously, everybody knows this logically, but emotionally, you would blame yourself. But if there's an outside force that has done something, then you can direct your anger at the universe to that specific person.
Yeah, like that time that Michelle got kicked in the stomach with a football when she was pregnant with Rory. You remember that? Lol.
No.
What else happened?
Yeah, so Alina's like, stay away from me, we are done.
Oh no.
Oh, that's a shame. Evelyn tries to talk to Hope about the fire, and Hope's like, yeah, I did it was an accident, I didn't mean to set fire to Alina and the baby, and I'm sick and tired of having to say sorry all the time. I just wanted them to split up, really, honestly.
She's just like so frustrated and fuming the fact that all her plans have come to nothing.
I know, I really want...
Daddy's still not coming home.
What I want is for her to be mentored by Todd and David. Like,
yeah,
listen,
somebody needs to...
You need to scale it back, Hope. You need to be a bit less ambitious. You need to work your way up to... This is like, this is a high level of manipulation. You're still just a kid.
Yeah, they're trying to suppress her naturally evil urges. Putting her with somebody, like you say, like
what
Todd.
They need to do is to send her off to a private school, get her in with the bigwigs, and eventually she'll be on track to be Prime Minister, and she'll be perfect.
Weatherfield School for Future Psychos.
Yeah, and politicians. So, Tyrone comes home, tells Evelyn, Alina's dumped him. She's like, oh dear, that's sad. Abney comes to the door and says, Fizz said she started the fire and she's going to go to prison. Yeah. And Evelyn's like, sits down in a swoon. Oh, no.
So she was very, very sympathetic when Tyrone said that Alina had dumped him. She's
I really like her because
she could have been like, well, it's for the best or whatever, but she was like, oh, I'm so sorry for you.
She seems to be taking the philosophy of, well, you've done it now, like, oh, well, you set a fire now, what can we do about that?
It is.
You've had a baby with your mistress, what can we do about that? Nothing. So
clearly Fizz would never take you back, but you've set yourself up a new life here, and now this is fallen flat as well. So what... Were you expecting Fizz to take the blame here?
Oh yeah, I guess so. I don't really, I don't really know. I I don't know. Obviously, it's going to come out, isn't it? But
yeah.
I really want to know what they're going to do with Hope.
I know. I'm no closer to figuring that out than I was last week.
Like, being fascinated with fire when you're a child is not an unusual thing, but setting fires and nearly killing people,
and it's been a long-term fascination that she's had now. It's been a good few years that she's been into this. And I'm not. I don't blame Fizz for saying I'm scared of her, and Tyrone saying that she needs help and everything.
She's got a very distinct lack of empathy, but I also don't think that's unusual.
No,
in children.
No, I don't think that she completely understands, and it could well be that because how old is she now? 10. That given a few years, that she could understand the severity of it. It was like I was saying last week. I don't think that she quite gets that. What's happened with Alina losing the baby and everything. It's an easy solution to the problem of I don't want another baby brother actually. But Fizz is being very, very blind. Yes, she's being protective, but
the question is, say you were to sort of go to the authorities and say, my child's done this, how would they actually help you? And is this gonna
send you to a school in Birmingham? Where the daughter of your ex-murderous husband is working as a TA.
Is there a solution that is going to help Hope and also not affect her future and sort of, mark her permanently as sort of a subversive criminal?
I don't know how.
And like, if there isn't, should there be? Is if in like 15 years' time, Hope like sets fire to her husband and her kids, and everyone's like, oh, that's funny because we sent her to that special school and they said that she was cured. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or is it could she just grow out of it and be like, oh, that was funny. Do you remember when I was a kid and I used to try to kill people with a fire?
We've all done crazy things when we were little.
Well.
And I don't think it's something that Coronation Street can keep up forever.
I don't know. I think some people really do.
It's only going to be entertaining for so long.
Fascination with setting fire to things.
I don't know. I think that they'll tone it down at some point, which is why I think that Tyrone is right in this case. That we really shouldn't just be letting her run free because all Fizz is doing is taking away a parental influence and is giving Hope the opportunity to run rampant even further and maybe get mad about the fact that her mum has been taken away from her. I'm going to take out my anger on somebody by setting fire to them. I know that Fizz thinks that she's doing this to protect Hope, but it's really, really not. And Fizz has been in prison before and everything, so she knows what it's like. Maybe she'll.
They're not going to put a kid in prison.
No, they're not. I don't know what the answer would be. I can't remember how old you have to be sent to juvie, but it's certainly not Hope's age. So yeah, Fizz just needs to tell the truth, really. It seemed, and I wish he had been, because I've obviously been on Team Fizz for the whole of this story, but running away last week and then doing this week, it's
bit stupid.
Not very easy to champion.
It's just annoying.
Yeah. And it's just like saying, there you go, Tyrone and Evelyn, she's your problem now. It's not saying that, but it's there's no way that she can help her daughter by being inside.
How on earth now that I never even thought of this, but you're right. How on earth are Evelyn, Tyrone, and Alina? Has Alina just gone right? That's it now. Now that Fizz is in prison, it looks like I'm gonna be on babysitting duties if I stick around here, so I'm going. You and Evelyn can sort it out.
Yeah, and
so where's she gonna go? So she get I imagine that Tyrone and Evelyn will move in together and co-parent Hope and Ruby.
But equally, if I was Fizz, I'd worry about the things that Tyrone has said in the past of be like, she's not my daughter.
I know, me too.
So yes, she's leaving her with the dad in inverted commas for the moment, but.
He's not exactly
if he does it again,
father, is he?
No, and Evelyn's, she's getting on a bit. She can't.
Evelyn will look after her more than Tyrone will.
Yeah, she will, but it's not a permanent solution.
Maybe Evelyn can help to channel her sort of fascination into fiction and like get to watch London's Burning or
maybe.
or
Maybe.
Backdraft or Towering Inferno.
In any case, I don't...
Would that help or would it make it worse? I don't know.
Do you think that Fizz is going to go to prison? I know they sometimes like to throw characters in prison just to get them off the screens for a bit, or to have a little story, but...
This is like a punctuation in the story rather than the end of a paragraph. I think it's just going to be... And then it came out that it was Hope.
With last week, when Fizz ran away into hiding, that could have been an opportunity to say, okay, let's pause this story for 2-3 weeks and then pick it up again. But straight away it was like, oh no, Fizz is still around and now she's back on the street again. So yeah, maybe like I wonder whether like would Evelyn or Tyrone go to the police station and say, no, it was Hope? Because like, you know what,
likely to do that.
What I hear is that Tyrone dobs. Is he going to dob in his own daughter?
Maybe.
To save Fizz? Because he knows, he hopefully he'll think about the fact that what she's doing isn't the best solution.
Literally, nothing they've done has made this any better. So it's time to stop acting as though that there's some kind of homebrew remedy or school that you can send Hope to stop her from setting fire to things. She needs something a bit more drastic.
Lobotomy.
Because who knows whether she, you know, from a purely selfish perspective, at some point she's going to hurt herself if she's not careful. She could trap herself.
Well, yeah, she's been close to that in the past, hasn't she? She trapped herself in the burning factory.
But how did that happen?
I thought that she just went in there and set a fire. I can't remember.
Yeah, and she nearly killed herself and
Ruby was there.
Ruby, yeah. And then she set fire to the trampoline, and then this. Is that the only 3 things that she's done?
I can't remember. There's probably more. Poor old Ruby again. She get one scene this week, did she?
She's the good child.
She got to sit on the sofa and then was sent upstairs.
And she hasn't done anything wrong, and everyone's giving all the attention.
Yeah.
I tell you what, how I'd like this story to end is, you know, in maybe 10 years' time, Fizz and Ruby and Hope are sort of enjoying a nice evening together, and then suddenly Ruby turns to Hope and says, "You know what? My whole childhood, you've been the one that everyone paid attention to, because you're the problem child, and you've ruined my life. And if you like fire so much, how'd you like this?" And just flames her up.
It wouldn't surprise me if they go down the route of Hope of Ruby going off the rails because she feels like she's the child that nobody pays any attention to, because they've had that with, like, you know, Sophie felt that she was in that position while Rosie was going through all her goth phases and everything.
It's a perfectly natural reaction.
Yeah. So what I'm interested to see now with Tyrone is, because he's got 2 battles to fight here, hasn't he? He's got the battle of winning Alina back and the battle of looking after Hope. So this is going to show where his loyalties lie, really.
True, very good, yeah.
Obviously, I'm in no way gutted that Alina has dumped Tyrone.
Temporarily, in my opinion.
Temporarily, yeah, probably. It doesn't feel that it's completely over. But yeah, if he starts trying to fight for Alina back and says, "Evelyn, can you deal with the Hope situation?" That's not going to look too good on him. Speaking of Evelyn, though, did anybody else listening feel that Maureen Lipman and Alan Halsall weren't filming in the same space at any point in Friday's episode?
There was a very, very, obvious and very sticky outy bit where Tyrone, it felt like they'd lost the footage, or they didn't record it, or they had to do a rewrite or something.
Press the play button. Press the record button.
Because Alan House was sitting on the very extreme left-hand side of the screen talking to Evelyn, who was speaking off camera to him, and he's reacting to what she's saying, but we didn't cut to her until quite a significant part way into the scene.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that was like ADR from Evelyn, or perhaps cut from the original recording that for some reason went wrong. But then this is the word, glaring.
They also had a shot
obvious,
which really looked like Maureen Lipman had been green screened in, and now Tyrone was on the left hand of it, and then there was a table in the middle, and then there was Evelyn. It didn't look right at all. But then they had some other scenes where they did look like they were in the same room together. But
it was very odd.
I don't know whether anyone else picked up on that, but.
Yeah, what happened?
What happened there?
Is it just us?
Street. Yeah, are we seeing things that don't exist? Right, Reith for Franklin now. all the drama on this. This led to another mystery, didn't it? We had the mystery of who had Shona hitting the car, and then there was a mystery on what's going on with the garden on the end of Wednesday's episode.
The garden?
Well, they find out pretty quickly on Friday. That was another mystery that was solved very, very quickly. So Monday, not only is Shona, what was that?
Sorry.
Not only is Shona and David and Todd up at 5 o'clock. What are you doing?
Did I press anything then?
I don't know whether you did.
No, I didn't.
Not only are they up at 5 o'clock on Monday morning, but Dev and Asha are as well. Corrie had taken advantage of them having a very early morning start. Asha's downstairs getting a glass of water or something. She's got a headache. Dev tells her at this point about the memorial garden for some reason, and she thinks that that's a great idea. Cut to later in the day, Asha goes to the cafe telling Nina that she wanted to help. And because of the way Corrie is with its block filming and everything, I'd completely forgotten that Asha and Nina had a falling out over the posting cartoons graphic art on Instagram. Do you remember that one? It feels like it was a long time ago.
Remember.
When they reminded us, I was like, oh yeah, that had happened, but I had forgotten that they'd had a bit of a falling out. But anyway, they make up now because it serves the storyline better that they're friends for a little bit. And they put their heads together for how they can raise money for Seb. Asha goes round the garage looking for Kevin later with a collection tin that she somehow managed to acquire from somewhere. Abby says that all throughout the week, Abby's not really been up for this idea. She doesn't really want to have the collection tin at the garage. She puts it down to the fact that they don't have very many customers there. You might be better off going, I think Debbie says take it to the Bistro because Debbie's there as well. And then when Asha goes, Abby says to Debbie, look, we don't need any help from this. We don't need to raise money. We don't need anything like that. We just need these scumbags who did this to go to prison. And then we also see Asha getting a mysterious phone call, which turned out to be... Oh, that must have been to do with her laptop, wasn't it? Because she ends up selling her laptop later for £400 to put in the collection tin. But she makes out to Nina that Deb was very, very generous and gave a massive amount. But she's just trying to get into Nina's knickers, apparently.
And especially so because they're very well designed.
Oh yeah. Does her own, doesn't she? There was a little funny scene with Toya in the shop as well, wasn't there? Where she's buying copious amounts of coffee for Imran, who's working day and night on this case to save Kelly, and it does give Asha a chance to have a bit of a go at Toya, saying, "Oh, he's defending a murderer."
Was it Dev or Asha?
Oh yeah, no, it was Asha through Dev, criticising.
He's
Toya
a murderer. He's defending a murderer.
Yes, Kelly. So anyway,
I don't get it. She did.
That's as far as we know so far, but I don't think they're going to go with that. Anyway, so later on, Dev tells Asha that he's had a brainwave. We should start a GoFundMe. And she says that we've already spoken about this idea. He really wants to help, and she says it's all right. I've got a load of money. I've sold my laptop, and he's like, hang on a minute, you've sold your laptop.
And she's like, I bought it with my own money anyway. It's none of your business.
And he says, look, are you just doing this because of Nina? You're just trying to get Nina to like you. And she says, oh, I just feel guilty. I wasn't there for Nina when she needed me after Seb died and everything. And he's like, no, you need to tell Nina the truth about this. So she goes to the cafe at the end of the episode, and she cannot bring herself to tell Nina what's going on because Nina's all... she's just really chuffed with the fact that Seb must have been really popular if he's got so much money so far. Whereas as far as we know, the only donor has been Asha, and everyone else hated Seb. They've forgotten about him already. So Abby on Wednesday sees Ed and Nina and Asha put in this garden together, and it is in the slot that's to the left of the builder's yard, which does need some kind of redevelopment or something, doesn't it? Because that whole area that leads up to what used to be the gym it's quite a sizable space that's
it's just
not
concrete,
being used.
But the thing is, I don't think that just because there's a bit of concrete means that you should just put a garden in there. I think it's access to the gym,
which hasn't been used
empty
anymore. It feels like it's about time that Coronation Street thought, what should we do with this area?
I don't know.
But
the thing that's baffling to me is that they're trying to build a garden on a concrete space, and they're surprised when, in an area like Weatherfield, where, you know, and it's by a tube stop, by a tram stop, sorry, people are coming and going. It's a fairly anonymous part of that area, and that there's, you know, a bunch of scallywags often around. They thought that they could just put pots and nobody would knock them over. This is the weirdest thing to me. Like even here, this is a pretty nice area, but I want to put bay trees.
At least it
outside.
stops the homeless people from crashing there, doesn't it? When they're
Oh,
waiting
yeah,
for the
that's
soup
true.
kitchen to open every day.
But yeah, I wouldn't even put bay trees in a pot outside because I'm paranoid someone's going to kick it over or steal it.
Anyway, Abby sees this, and Nina is completely blind to the fact that Abby doesn't like the look of it whatsoever. And Abby talks to Bernie in the cafe later about being sick of all the sympathy that she's getting. She just wants. Yeah, she literally just wants the people who did it to pay. She doesn't need a constant reminder of Seb and how sad it is and everything.
So Nina wants closure through shared tribute to Seb to make his life mean something. Because I think she's so young, she's thinking to herself, if I, you know, and it could have been her, what would my life have meant to the world if I was to die at this age? And she's comforting herself by saying this permanent memorial to Seb shows that his life meant something and it's going to mean something for years and years to come. Abby wants closure through the people who killed her son getting justice and being sent to prison. And those are two completely different ways of coping with what happened.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well is that Nina is kind of embroiled in the sort of the seeking of justice for Seb, because she was like the star witness. She's going to be the person who's going to have to be on the stand telling everybody what she saw and what she didn't see. She didn't see what happened to Seb. She doesn't know. So if they don't get justice for Seb and the people they think that did it don't go to prison, it's kind of, she's going to blame herself. She's going to be the only person that could have done something or said something to make this a sort of open and shut case. So in a way, I think she's psychologically protecting herself from the possibility of failing Seb's memory by creating the space that she's in absolute control of.
Nice. That's a nice bit of psychology you've done there.
Yeah, but and obviously Abby doesn't have that focus.
No. Good point. So Abby sees Ryan taking a selfie next to this later on, which is weird.
A flipping himbo, isn't he? He's like, yeah, this would be good for my presents, like, because what people want from a DJ
Yeah.
is like R.I.P. Seb.
Well, this could be my new album cover.
It's going to be called hashtag R.I.P. Seb.
Yeah, it's this massive picture of his face with a kind of orangey pinky background and then hashtag RIP Seb at the bottom. It was so
honestly
tacky.
the most tragic summation of modern media, social media obsessed youth is like the hashtag RIP Seb as like the headstone almost for him.
Yeah, is this what the current youth are going to have? They're going to have their headstones full of hashtags when they die.
Yeah, like, you know, when you
hashtag loved.
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah, it went. Hashtag YOLO, and he did.
Yeah, I did, and that was it. Now it's over.
I thought it was massively, massively tacky. I get how it could be seen as being sweet, but I didn't think that the picture was that great, to be honest.
It is a bit of a chubby face.
It was a bit garish with the colours that were picked. I don't think it was Seb's style. No. But the hashtag was just awful. That's the sort of thing that you look back on in 5 years' time and go, oh, why did we do this? Can somebody graffiti over a heart over this hashtag or something? It's not as tasteful as the Maddie memorial.
I was going to say Maddie's mural is much more restrained.
Yeah, and it's hidden away down the gunnel as well.
Don't need to think about it.
It's when characters have seen, they go, oh yeah, Maddie. It's not as in your face as
she's
this.
Dancing
Maybe
with
this is why Nina has thought that he should have it. It's like Maddie, she was only in the programme for like 2 years or so.
Yeah,
Seb's
should
been in it for ages.
That memorial.
Maxine's got a bench.
Yeah.
Anyway, Abby
they're going to run out of space for memorials if they're not careful. I suppose they did get rid of Tina's for this one.
Yeah.
Who remembers the Tina? Nobody.
Then we have a funny scene where Dev's trying to impress Nina by these tales of how he did street art in his uncle's shed back in his youth. The larks he had. And then he accidentally lets it slip that this massive donation came from Asher and not from him. So Nina starts to think, well, why would Asher do this? Aha, I think I know. She goes off stomping down to Asher and says, how you lied where the money came from. You just want to cop off of me again, don't you? And Asher,
I can't deny it.
You got me, fair cop.
Yeah. Cop off.
Yeah. And so, Nina tells her to bog off, basically. And towards the end of the episode, we see Asher sulking in the dark in number 7. Adi comes home from somewhere, doesn't he? And he has a bit of a chat with her about, I can't remember what, but she goes stomping off. And partly, although it doesn't really get picked up again, sets up the mystery of who destroyed the garden, which is what we have at the very end of the episode, because Nina's there in the cafe doing her cartoons again. Roy notices that what she's drawing is like a picture of her and a picture of Asher, and in their speech bubbles it's like a load of asterisks and ampersands and things like that.
Yeah,
not that they're swearing at each other. Roy says, oh, you're having a breakdown in communication. But while that's going on, we see this mystery assailant setting to at the garden, smashing all the pots, throwing dirt at Seb's face.
Yeah.
And basically making a big old nuisance of themselves. And I think at this point, they probably wanted us. They wanted us to think that it was Asher, probably, because we'd just seen her stomping out, and it feels like more of a childish thing to do. And the Abby's disdain for the project was a little bit more low key dropped throughout the episode.
When we finished watching it, you thought it was Asher, and I thought it was Abby.
I think originally I said Asher, and then it didn't take very much at all for me to think, oh no, of course it must be Abby.
Well, because you said, why would Abby throw dirt on her son's face? And I said, she's not throwing it at Seb, she's throwing it at the picture. Because in her mind, she separated them completely out.
Yeah. But then there were quite a few theories online. I mean, some people wondered whether it was Corrie back again, because he's out at the moment, isn't he? But no, rather than going down any of that, they revealed fairly early on that it's Abby. Well,
I'm always surprised and refreshed when they go, yeah, it was me.
I kind of wanted it to be a bit more of a mystery.
No, I don't like. I wouldn't have. I preferred it.
Because it's Roy that finds it first thing on Friday's episode.
Oh yeah, Nina's there like doing the chalk menu, and Roy goes up to do something, and he says, "Oh Nina, you should come and look at this." It's like, what is it? A baby fox sleeping, or a hedgehog, or a new bud on one of the flowers? No, the whole thing's been trashed, but the way he was calling her over, he didn't mentally prepare her at all for the fact that this shrine has been desecrated.
I just thought it was odd that Nina didn't go over and have a little look at it before starting work, or I don't know whether she could have seen it out the window.
Over there.
Yeah, like, I spent all of yesterday putting this garden together. I'm just going to go and have a look and pay my respects. See how Seb's portrait's doing. But no, she just is like, I've done that. That was yesterday's job.
Who cares about that now? I've done it, finished it.
Yeah, so Sally's in shock when she sees this. Then Abby comes along and she can't get away quick enough. It seems at that point that it's fairly obvious that she's the one who did it. And back at Sally's house, Abby fesses up pretty quickly that it was her. So Asher comes over as well. She's shocked to see what happened. Nina's like, well, it was you did this, didn't you? Although very quickly, Asher's reaction shows that it definitely wasn't her. And Nina is, fair play to her, quite apologetic at jumping down her throat straight away and accusing her. Abby turns up just in time to say, yeah, it was me. Don't like it. We all grieve in different ways, blah, blah, blah. She says how this memorial is glamorising death. I think there's a phrase that she used. And Sally has to try and show Abby that Nina and co are just trying to cope with it in their own way. Also, maybe Seb would have wanted a reminder of how much a waste his death was and how we should all be better people. And this is going to help remind people never to be nasty to each other again. And then later on, Asher and Nina are dismantling the garden because they've realised that Abby doesn't want it. And then, how lovely, Abby comes over and says, no, keep it. But they have a compromise, which means removing the picture. So this garden is staying.
It's much nicer without the picture.
I think it is as well.
We haven't actually seen it properly yet, have we? We've
No.
only seen close-ups, and there's stained glass window panels and wood, and everything's in pots because obviously it's concrete on the floor. And Abby brings a raspberry cane to plant, and Roy says, "Oh, plant it in that hole over there." And it's like, what hole are you... What? Is there like a... If you're talking about a manhole cover, I don't think you should put dirt down it.
It's odd. I don't know how permanent it's going to be. It feels like it's maybe one of these things where they thought, oh, this could be good for a story, but then, we've got to kind of keep it now.
I think it's just a nice place to go that isn't Victoria Gardens all the time, which is like an outdoor space, because I'm sure they'll put a bench in there.
It is odd, though, because the Victoria Gardens is already a bit of a little tribute area, isn't it?
Yeah, but
although I suppose in real life it is,
show.
because it's got the... I mean, they've got the bench about the Manchester bombing victims, and it does have the plaque on, but I suppose it's not really been made out to be...
It's not in
a
the show.
tribute area in the show.
In the show, that didn't happen.
No, but it is also odd how they got all excited about this garden for said being somewhere that they could plant their broad beans and everything, when
you've already got that.
That's what Victoria Gardens is used for, which is also pretty tiny for doing that.
Interestingly, very prominently, but unmentioned on the show, was a red robin tree.
Oh, yes.
Which is I'm pretty sure that this is the same tree that when the Queen visited, when was that? Back in July, the beginning of July, she visited the set and she was presented by the actresses who played Ruby and Hope with a little red robin tree, which is it's sort of like it looks like a laurel tree with bigger leaves than a laurel. Very, very, it can grow very tall, but the point of them is that they have red tips, red leaves. Twice a year it'll go red. And we've got one in our garden. But they presented this to the Queen, and the Queen presented it back. She was like, I already have.
Are you
all this
absolutely
stuff.
sure that the Queen did this? Because I remember...
Let me read this to you, Michael,
That's
from ITV.com.
very ungrateful.
Young cast members Macy Allaby, Ruby Dobbs and Isabella Flanagan, Hope Stape, also presented a little red robin tree, with robins known to be a sign of good fortune and luck. The tree was gifted back to the programme for planting in the Victoria Street garden in celebration of this very special visit.
Oh, okay.
So, there you go.
That is really ungrateful. I don't really like it.
It's not ungrateful. They would have known that this was going to be given back. It's just ceremonial, isn't it?
It is ceremonial. It's very strange. But yeah, that must have been it. Because it would have been back in July that this story was going on. Yeah.
So they obviously did a little bit of a fib there in that press release, because it wasn't in Victoria Gardens.
Just imagine if the Queen had been like, "Oh, thank you, that'll look lovely in the back garden at Buckingham Palace."
You know, I've been looking for one of these.
And Mary McLeod's like,
crap.
I got to go down to B&Q to buy another one now. It does actually. I think that area does look a little bit like a little local branch of B&Q, doesn't it? Because there's the builder's yard there with all the tools and everything, and then right next to it, in pots.
And there's like a pile of compost with a bunch of dads going, "Oh God, I've got to heft this back to the car."
Yeah, it does, exactly. I enjoyed the callback to Jeff on this story.
Yeah.
Brian's there
moaning,
planting his bean. Doesn't he say? No, I can't remember what he says now, but yeah, he mentions Jeff.
Can I just say, don't bother growing broad beans in this community garden, because especially if you're going to shell them twice, you're going to get about 5 out of a pot at the most. You need a massive bed to grow broad beans in. Grow tomatoes or cucumbers or chard.
Yeah.
Or a nice cute courgette plant, and then everyone could be...
Don't say charred, it's triggering to Alina, whose house has just been charred to bits.
Oh, they just say charred like my face.
I thought that the mystery of who defaced the garden could have... I think it felt like it could have been strung out a little bit more, because it really felt like...
I didn't mind it.
I was obvious that Nina was going to accuse Asha, but I thought that maybe she'd speak to Ardy, and Ardy would be like, yeah, she did go out late last night, but none of that was mentioned, was it? It made the scene a bit pointless, and it was over very, very quickly.
I thought it was good. I liked it. It wasn't too overblown.
I am just a little bit disappointed in Abby that it was her, though, although sadly it is in her character.
Yeah, this is exactly it. It is a depressing return to form from the person that we thought had put much of her antisocial behaviour behind her, and it just goes to show that, you know, she is under a lot of stress, and she obviously was not thinking, and she lashed out.
It's very
It's
old
not-
Abby to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It feels like she's matured a bit since then.
But, you know,
I want
she
to know,
didn't
what
have...
does Kevin have to say about this?
He's probably join in with her. Yeah, trashing it.
He does get a bit angry, doesn't he? Does
Oh
Kev?
my
Any
God.
excuse for
He'd love
kicking up
it.
a fuss about something. I was a bit surprised as well that... Was I surprised? I don't know. That they brought back Asher's infatuation with Nina. It felt like it was kind of a little bit over.
Yeah, it
and
did.
it was maybe just a warm-up to the Nina and Seb story this year. But it does make sense that Asher's still harbouring these feelings for her.
Yeah.
She's not put it to bed. It kind of came out of the blue that it was brought up again so quickly. And it's still not over, is it? Nina's obviously got no intention of getting back together with Asher for the moment, although I'm sure she could be persuaded otherwise. Would you want to see them back together again? Do you think we'll get to see a proper reunion?
I think we might do, but it feels like one of these stories where it means more than the relationship itself. And this is the same thing that happened to Rana and Kate, where it's symbolic of so many things and important to people for different reasons, and therefore it becomes a kind of a bit of a hot potato, and you're scared perhaps to do anything with them as the couple, or you take the other approach, which is what they did with Rana and Kate, and sort of bait everybody all the time with them.
It was definitely too soon for Asher to try and... Well, she didn't really try and make the moves, did she?
She's
testing the
doing,
water a little bit, maybe.
I don't think it's fair to Asher to say that this is, it was ulterior motive to win her favour. I think Asher was just genuinely trying to make Nina happy, and she knew that if she sold her laptop...
Yeah, it was. I don't think it was any more than that.
I don't think she expected Nina to go, wow, look at all these petunias we've bought. Wow, this makes my pants wet.
I mean, but before the trial has even happened, where there has obviously not been any kind of closure on the whole matter,
No.
It's not really the best time. But then Asher is still very young, and maybe she wouldn't think about that.
I don't know, but also, I mean, soaps live on accelerated timescales, and I wouldn't imagine there's going to be an incredibly decent length of time before, if they want to put them together, they will do.
by the end of the year.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe it'll be a sexy Christmas. I mean, they can put some lovely fairy lights in that garden over Christmas.
Yeah.
And now it's been vandalised once, it won't happen again, I'm sure.
Anyway, from talking of gardening, daisies.
Daisy Chain.
Yeah.
So on Monday, Ryan tells Daisy there's going to be a top DJ at this gig. So that's brilliant, because don't forget they're going to a ski resort in
the Alps
August to play music, because this is apparently what they do. Fine. Daisy says, let's get a speed dial together. Just Ali will have to get used to seeing us together. So now everybody watching has seen that not only in the space where we haven't been watching did Shona run a man over, but also Alia and Daisy, Ryan and Daisy, have begun to date.
Daisy? No, I'd watch that. Yeah, this is everyone else's
The last time we
complaints.
saw them together, Ryan was talking about this gig, and they weren't dating because she was kind of trying to invite herself. I can't really remember, but it was...
Yeah, she was saying, I might tag along. Lots of people seemed... I don't know whether surprised is the right word, because some of these things, it's like, oh yeah, they're obviously going to go down that route. But yeah, a little bit disappointed that we didn't see them getting together. And then other people were saying, no, I'm glad we were spared it. I didn't remark on the fact. I mean, when people afterwards I saw online were commenting, I was like, oh yeah, we didn't actually see them get together. But I just assumed it was so inevitable that I didn't even blink when they were a couple at the beginning of the episode. I'm really disappointed in Ryan, because she's obviously a nasty bitch.
They're cementing his...
And he's just... It's showing how weak he is.
Yes, his reputation as a sort of weak-willed, sort of blows with the wind kind of a person.
Yeah.
So, Ollie's going to have to get used to it. So, when they come in, Alia and Yasmin obviously react, and Alia says to Yasmin, I'll handle it, don't you worry. And Daisy's rubbing it in about how great the relationship is and gloating. And And she was like saying, "Oh yeah, we jumped into bed together," you know, just being really.
She's being a very difficult customer.
She is. So everything she does, this is the thing. She'll never realise this probably herself. She does it for other people, and that makes her a pretty powerless and inconsequential person. But she thinks because she's getting under people's skins or manipulating them that she's winning. But actually, it's her that's losing out because she's not actually living her life. She's just trying to get a rise out of people. Yeah. Anyway, at the end of the day, Daisy's been a bit difficult, and she and Alia have a bit of a spat, and Alia stands up for herself pretty well, and Ryan just gets very awkward and leaves. And Yasmin had to go to the dentist. When she comes back, Alia updates her, and Yasmin says...
Updates her? I thought you said Alia dates her.
Yasmin says that Daisy is a two-faced cow, but she'll get through it. Well, Alia. Johnny comes into the Rovers. We haven't seen him for ages.
No, it's been like 6 weeks since we've seen Johnny last. I thought they were phasing him out. They still kind of could be.
Yeah, I know.
But they have a chat about the fact that he's going out with Daisy. I don't think
Ryan
that Johnny
talks to him.
I don't think that Johnny actually did anything of any consequence in this week's Coronation Street. He was hanging around the bar a bit.
He was trying to get Jenny to realise what Daisy's up to. So on Wednesday, Jenny's asking Ryan about a ski gig, and he tells her that he's in a 12 to 2 slot, and she's like, "Wow, that's like the best one, isn't it? When everyone's really raving." And he's like, "Well, no, it's from noon to 2 p.m, which is the kiddie slot." And she's basically laughs at him.
He's in this winter wonderland.
Frozen
forest thing. Yeah.
So he has to tell Daisy what's going on, and she's completely outraged because she wanted the status of being with like one of the stars so that she could lord it over everybody, and now it's apparent that she's like, you know, with the clown.
I don't know how he got this gig particularly, because all his live streaming was about, you know, proper banging dance music, but now they're saying, "Oh no, you got to just go and play the Birdie song in the time warp."
I also can't believe that anybody thought, or Daisy, that off the back of a stream of like 2,000 people watching him playing music and nodding, he was going to get a headlining gig at in a ski resort.
Yeah, I guess.
Why would they give him any... Like, he's not famous at all. I think this is perfectly acceptable slot.
Well, it's not like they're going to get Fatboy Slim, is it?
No, and if they did, they wouldn't put him in the kiddie tent, so it would have to be Ryan anyway. So, she says, I'm just going to have to spend time in the disco tent by myself then. And Ryan's like, well...
he brings up this elaborate map, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's not the same place, actually. We're in a different town.
You have to travel by sleigh to get from venue to venue.
Now, if it was a husky drawn sleigh, I'd definitely do that.
I can totally see Daisy done up with like this big glossy lipstick and a
red lips.
Yeah, a hood, fur-lined hood.
And a cloak.
Yeah.
Offering small children
Turkish delight.
So, so she's fuming. Ryan tries to get this event organised to move a slot, but they're like, "I don't even know who you are, so you're lucky to be even playing at all." He gives her some hotel tickets. He's booked for the middle of town. Hooray! But it turns out it's actually a hostel. Daisy is not impressed at all. Alia comes in, and Ryan makes it even worse by apologising for yesterday, and Daisy's just seething and over all of this.
She's just kind of realising that she's backed the wrong horse here.
Yeah.
I don't know what
she only wanted Ryan because Alia had him. That's literally it.
She was impressed by a couple of his online streams, but
listen, she's one of these women who bases their entire personality around whoever they're dating. So now that she's with Ryan, she absolutely loves DJing and thinks it's not even when she's dating, it's before she gets them. She's like, "Oh yeah, so impressive, what amazing, I love DJing, I love all this music."
I think she likes the idea of being the VIP and going out to, you know, to swanky clubs and getting the free bar and maybe...
Yeah, but she's also, like I said, she also changes everything she says and thinks depending on who she's trying to bag. So the next person in her sights is Daniel, because she overhears the fact that Denise has gifted him...
Daniel's mum.
Yeah, her house.
This feels like a story that has been going on in the background that they just haven't shown on the TV, doesn't it? Because when Daniel was phoned up on Wednesday, he was like, "Oh, so the house is in my name now." So
and she goes, what?
This is the end of the process. So for weeks now, when Daniel hasn't been on screen, because what was the last thing that Daniel did on this show? Anyone remember? Because I certainly don't.
It was thingying the child. He was teaching the child thing.
Oh yeah,
Sam.
he was doing a bit of work with Sam, wasn't he? While that's
Don't
been
need to
going
do that
on
anymore. Now he's going to be a landlord.
What? Who's a landlord?
He's going to rent the house out.
Oh yeah. So we're to believe that a while ago Denise, for whatever reason, has decided to bequeath this childhood home that Daniel grew up in and raised himself to him. Is it because she's feeling guilty about it, or what?
She doesn't live there. He doesn't live there.
Shame we didn't get a little cameo from Denise during this, because when I spoke to Denise Black last year, she was definitely down for the idea of coming back to Coronation
Well, they
Street
used
sometime.
their budget on returning artists on Rachel. Everyone get over it.
So he's got this house now, but he's just gonna
Rent it
he's
out.
gonna rent it out. But Daisy's gets the pound signs in her eyes, doesn't she?
Wonder how much he's probably going to get. 600-800 quid.
Well, it's in the middle of the countryside, isn't it? It's quite nice.
Is it? I thought it was a semi.
Secluded area. Is it?
I thought they had a little garden.
In my head, it's
I thought it
out
was
in
in
the
the middle
moors
of a road.
somewhere. Oh, I don't know.
Well, I think it's it's fair to say he'd probably get. I don't know if you have to take out your insurance or whatever. It's obviously owned by Denise, so there's no mortgage to pay. But he'll have to, if he's gonna not manage it himself, he'll have to pay a management company.
I think I'm getting all the houses of the era kind of that were offset, just mixed up with each other. Because there was that one, there was the little country cottage that Eva went and hid away in.
Oh, yeah.
There was Phelan's house that he had Andy
yeah.
in the basement of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know which.
Don't know
one
where it is. I presume that Daniel does, though. On Friday, Daisy's just over this festival, but she's as soon as she sees Daniel come in, she perks up and she's going, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be going to this amazing kids gig. I love children. Don't you have a child?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, can I see a picture? Oh, he looks so amazing."
That was
He's
funny
so
because he got to
wonderful."
see a picture of what Bertie looks like at the
I know,
moment.
he's
It's
all
like, he's grown up now, isn't
Oh, his little blonde-haired angel.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I'd love kids of my own. I want to have loads of them. I don't even mind if they're second-hand." So they go on a house on fire. She's supposed to be working, but she's just ensconced herself in a booth with him. And she's saying, "Oh, I love the Impressionists. Oh, my favourite. I love Jason Pollock," and all this
I
stuff.
don't know how she was able to get all this information. Did she go home on between Wednesday and Friday's episode and
just
do a bit of
Googled it.
research?
This is what I said.
She felt quite like she knew what she was
Genuine.
talking about, and she
Yeah.
doesn't seem like to me the sort of person that would be able to just name drop a.
It did seem a bit out of
Impressionist
her
artist.
wheelhouse, but we assumed that when she said to Ryan, "Oh yeah, I love all the music, whatever," that she was actually being genuine then, and she obviously wasn't either. She doesn't have her own personality. It's really annoying when people do this as well. Like when sometimes you have friends like this where they start off and they're like one way, and then they start dating and they suddenly completely change everything they like and say. So anyway, she's talking about how much she loves all the things that Daniel likes, and he says, "Oh," they start talking about getting a bottle of Chardonnay, and she goes off to get one, and Jenny sees her with the ice bucket and like, "What are you up to?" She's like, "Oh, just having a drink with him as a friend. It's all perfectly innocent." Johnny's saying to Jenny, "Look at this. Look what she's like." Because he obviously hates her because he kind of blames a lot of what's happened between him and Jenny on her getting involved.
Jenny's almost removes the blinkers today's episode,
Well,
doesn't
she kind of
But-
watches like, "Hang on, just a minute. What's going on here?" Daisy's flirting and Daniel kind of points out that she's already got a boyfriend, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just trying." It's like a pair of trainers that I'm trying on for size. And they're flirting and laughing, and Ryan comes back before she expected him to, and everything has to stop so that she can pretend to be a nice person.
Yes. So Daisy and Daniel then, eh? I would hope that Daniel might be intelligent enough to not
See what's going on.
But then he's not exactly well versed in the ways of women. He's not had lots of girlfriends.
He also likes a
Sinead-
compliment. He's Ken's son, after all.
Yeah,
He's a womanizer, really.
he's a womanizer that's not got a whole lot of experience.
He's only young, give him time.
He had
He's not
Sinead for a
Lothario
bit.
like Hardy.
He chatted with what's her face? What was her name? The woman that he was.
Oh, yeah.
Nikki, was it?
The lady of the night.
Yeah, who we got to dress up as Sinead.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, watch out. If Daisy suddenly starts wearing dungarees and pinafore dresses,
Yeah.
you know that she's completely glommed on.
So maybe he is just supposed to be a little bit naive
I
on
can't
this.
think of a better person for him, actually, because he just wants a Sinead surrogate, and seems to be perfectly happy to completely change her personality and likes and dislikes. She just has to start saying, "Oh, I love syrup. I want to make a candle."
Anyway, any thoughts or opinions on this story? Glad that Daniel's been brought into it.
People really hate Daisy, but I can't dislike the chaos that she brings with her, and I'm really enjoying watching her become a man-eater. And I just really want to know how many men is she going to get through on the street? Like, where's she going to set her sights? Because I honestly don't think that Daniel will be the end of it. Once she gets Daniel and she realises that he's not going to spend his rent money that he's getting on her and dresses and shoes, but rather putting money into Bertie's college fund or whatever, she'll move on to somebody else. But who? And how old and young is she going to go?
I didn't think that she was trying to get their hands on the rent. I think that she's going to try and persuade him to sell the house.
Well, either way.
And then
either way, she's going to have access to a man who's got a steady income of whatever the rent money is going to be, or she's got access to a man who's going to potentially have, 200 grand or and I don't know how much this house, where this house is.
Yeah, I can't remember when Ryan's supposed to be going off to this gig. Do you think he's just going to go off and then that's when she's going to properly pounce on Daniel?
What, by himself, and she won't go?
Yeah,
she hasn't said that she's not going yet.
No, that's true. I mean, she certainly made it clear that she's not at all into the idea of going now. Maybe
why?
Maybe she will just split up with him. She seems like the sort that would just dump him out of nowhere.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to soften things up. She'd just say,
this.
"Yeah, I'm over you now, Ryan."
And I know that there's been loads of man-eaters and minxes on Coronation Street, but I don't think anyone's ever been as blatant as this.
Yet Jenny still can't see what a nasty cow she is. Why doesn't she just? It's still guilt over not being there for Daisy when she was little or something.
I don't know. I think it's just supposed to be slightly humorous that she's blind to Daisy's evil, conniving ways.
I wonder, speaking of abandonment as a child, I wonder whether that's going to be another common issue that that Daniel and Daisy share. Because he's like, "Oh, my mum abandoned me when I was little," and she's like, "Oh yeah, my dad doesn't speak to me now," and Jenny was the closest thing I had to her mum when I was growing up, and then she abandoned me as well. So maybe that's how she tries to get her claws into him. I feel bad for Ryan. He was an idiot for leaving earlier, really. So he kind of deserves what's coming to him, but I can't help feel guilty. I feel bad for the stupid puppy that he is.
Oh yeah, that's a good description.
Okay, so just that about it. A minor story for the week, and then even more minor was this Bistro buyout, which we did get to see some of Debbie. I thought it was great that we saw Daniel again. It's been a very long time since Daniel's had something important to do, so I'm hoping that this is a build up to him returning, but also Debbie.
I was just going to say something about quickly about Daisy and her motivations. I know somebody who is kind of similar to Daisy in that they're very chameleon-like, change completely everything that they think and do and say, and will become like the person very passionately, even more passionate about the things that the person likes than they are themselves, almost in an effort to get approval, and bounces from person to person to person. And I wonder whether it's to do with the background, because this person I'm thinking of in my life had a very tumultuous upbringing. Parents weren't really always there for various reasons, and especially a father figure was absent. And I wonder whether Daisy's like a similar kind of person to that, where because her dad was, has moved on to another family, and maybe the trauma of the death of her brother, because she would have been fairly young also when her brother died.
Yeah.
It must have been her younger brother, and then to see the chaos that caused, and perhaps the dad detached emotionally from the family and didn't want to engage with them. And you can see Daisy perhaps then searching for not necessarily a surrogate father figure, but approval from a man in any way that she can get, because she never had it as a child.
That sounds very good. I think that it feels like you're giving more character development to Daisy than Coronation Street are willing to do themselves.
Well, how about this? Corrie, that's for free. From me, you can have that if you like.
Okay, so back to the Bistro then.
Sorry.
So that's all right. Debbie is struggling at the bistro. She's been saying that we've done kind of all right during the pandemic, but Leanne and Nick can see that she's not finding it very easy.
I don't think it's not just the sort of the social conditions of running a business during a pandemic, but also Debbie doesn't strike me as a person who naturally wants to be in the hospitality trade. She was a property developer before this. There's nothing about her. I mean, there are some transferable skills, but certainly not customer service being one of them. So
I kind of lose track of what Debbie owns now. Like, is the hotel still hers?
She's
I think
Monopoly.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is hers. Because she had the wedding venue for...
Yeah, that's right. So
wedding.
she's struggling a bit. And meanwhile, Leanne and Nick, who have both jacked in their jobs, have been doing a load of courses and stuff.
Romantic things, making chocolate from that gift voucher that Toya bought.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
And she wanted to go, but they just went without her, probably.
See, having been catching up on the ITV3 classic Coronation Streets, I thought that there should have been a bit of a call out to the Nick's time as a life model.
Yeah,
missed that
and
chance.
they could have gone for a life drawing class, and he could have critiqued the poses.
Yeah.
When I was a life model, I had better.
I was
abs.
hunkier than that. Yeah. So Nick admits to Toya that he's not really enjoying all of this, and
he wants a job.
Yeah, he wants to go back to the factory again.
I can't relate.
No. And then she engineers this situation, which is total soap cliche, where he's there in the pub, and then Leanne comes to the pub because she's been held by Toya, and Toya's like, "Oh, look, we're both together. You can talk about your issues that you've got
and how you both hate courses."
Yeah, because Leanne has also told Toya earlier on in the episode that she's not enjoying them as well.
Well, they both are saying, I'm doing it for the other person because they seem to like it.
Yeah.
So they've both been pretending.
So Leanne hints that she has got something else in mind that they can do, which is buying
Swinging.
the bistro.
Oh,
No. Wednesday's episode, they go along to the bistro. Debbie's like, I haven't got any specials today. Everything's special on the menu. I thought that she didn't have a whole lot to do, Sue Devaney, this week. But
she's great.
She was great with what she was given.
She's a bit of a scene stealer, isn't she?
Yeah, and when they ask what the fish of the day is or something, she says, oh, it's a tasty fishy kind of fish. She's clearly got no idea what's going on. And Leanne's like, right, Nick, I think we should put in an offer here. He's like, I think it's going to be a lot of hard work, but she's keen. Now, both of them have had a long history with owning this establishment, and like
they
Leanne's
owned it together. I can't remember.
They've been
so
very
she
shit
owned
passing
it.
in the night.
She was owning it with Peter.
I've lost track.
And then that's when it fell on Ashley's head.
I don't remember, honestly. She's had a couple of stints. Nick's obviously had it because it was Nick's Bistro at one point, wasn't it?
And Robert was the chef.
Yeah, I don't know anyway. But they're both more than qualified to run this, should they want to go down this route, which they do. And Nick's like, I'm gonna write down the price on a bit of paper and pass it to her surreptitiously, which is what you always say that they always used to do on Coronation Street.
I think it was a bit meta, wasn't it?
It was a little bit.
He folds it up and puts it in the menu.
Yeah, and then she doesn't notice it. Oh no, she does notice it, but she says to him, "Yeah, this is a laughable offer."
She said, "I thought it was a joke, so I threw it away."
Yeah. But she says, oh look, maybe you're interested in a 50-50 partnership here, and then she's like, I believe this is how you prefer to do your transactions, and then she slides the amount back to him.
I thought this was so funny.
And Leanne's like, no way, this is far too low. I'm not going for this. Well, there's plenty of other businesses that are going to want to take my money, and so if you want it, and then she kind of clops off. Yeah, but in a fun way. It wasn't like a rah 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 sort of way. She goes, I think they go out into the coat hangy bit, the entrance hall of the bistro, and she's like, oh, I'm quite enjoying this.
It was sort of a like a kind of a play acting of being like
she's up for a haggle with Debbie.
Yeah, that's right.
So what would you think about them being back at the bistro again? It feels to me like Nick and Leanne kind of feel to me like they should belong together and stay together. It's not like I love them or they're my favourite couple or anything, but the world feels right when they're together. It kind of feels the same with the bistro. I certainly didn't enjoy Nick running the factory with Sarah, and Leanne's been a bit of a loose cannon for a while now. She's not had much to do, has she?
No.
So it feels like an obvious move from the showrunners to put them back, and it's fine. Yeah, and some people I've seen complaining, saying, "Oh, it's just going round and round. Here we go again."
Yeah.
But if it works, it works.
The thing is, I was thinking initially, oh no, I don't want this to happen because I really like Debbie and I want Debbie to have a prominent role in the show, and her being in the bistro, it fulfills that. But then I thought, it doesn't actually, does it? Because she doesn't have anyone to play off.
No, she doesn't.
So if Nick and Leanne became 50-50 owners with her, I can actually see far more opportunities for her to be in the show and having conflict with them about...
She's had surprisingly little to do
Yeah.
since the beginning of the year.
But
Again,
so this could actually be a good move to get her in the show more, because she's going to have somebody to spark off of.
It used to be that the bistro was never out of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was when there were more characters.
But it was also when the
working there.
pandemic was really in swing, and it seemed a bit odd to have so many formal dinners.
But we've seen so little of her that I'm just looking forward to the opportunity to have more Debbie, because it's like they extended her contract. It felt like they didn't need to keep her in the show after the 60th anniversary, but they did. But then they didn't know what to do with her. And I'm sure they'll clash and there'll be fireworks.
Like I said, she lights up the
disagreements
screen when she's in it. I think she's fabulous. I enjoy her. I think she's a great actress. She's so charismatic. And the character of Debbie, I really like her cutthroat, laissez-faire attitude. She reminds me of golden era Carla.
She's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know what the story would be other than...
They don't agree.
They don't agree on things. So
what's the special of the day? Swordfish? No, sea bass.
But maybe if...
we can't get on.
Debbie still hasn't properly had a story of her own, and maybe this is a chance to get one. And like you say, Nick and Leanne are just there to play off.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I'm quite optimistic about it. But you're not bothered about the fact that Nick and Leanne are going back there again, and it feels like retreading old ground.
I'd rather they had something to do that isn't crying about a baby.
It was nice to see Leanne with a bit of a cheeky grin on her face, wasn't it?
Yeah, and being business partners again, it gives what it does is it gives couples an opportunity to have conflict with one another that isn't romantically based.
Yes, yeah, like, they're going to split up again.
Yeah, they're not going to split up because she wants to buy cutlery that has a blunt base and he wants a rounded one, are they? But they will argue about it.
Yeah.
So that's more interesting.
Yeah. So that is everything that happened on Corrie this week. It is time for the scores and the character of the week.
Oh God.
I am thinking...
Oh, I don't know.
I'm kind of thinking probably Evelyn again for the character of the week, just because like what I was talking about earlier about how she was incredibly supportive and sympathetic of everyone, and despite the fact that the whole of number where are they, number 9 was collapsing, everyone hated each other, she was being very neutral and supportive and giving everybody exactly what they needed.
It's very difficult to support all parties in an argument without seeming like a sellout.
She didn't feel two-faced or anything.
No, she wasn't lying to anybody about them, about what they were doing and kind of validating them and then going back and slagging them off to somebody else. She just literally supported everybody in whatever they were doing without enabling them either, which is really a really well crafted and well acted character. I enjoy it, but I don't want to give it to her. I want to give it to Todd. This week.
Okay. How come?
I don't know. It wasn't a great story, but I just liked Todd being manipulative. I
thought he was lots of fun when he was even though he should know better by now, he was still like doing his blackmailing and
he's totally showing Billy up as well.
Oh yeah, he was then. I was just thinking more about what he was doing with David and Shona when he was only got his feet right under the table within minutes of moving into number 8 there. I thought it was quite funny. They were both pretty good this week, but on the whole, I thought it was just another sort of an okay week. I'm giving it 3 bags of dog poo on Tyrone's suitcase out of 5, which is what Evelyn did at the beginning of the week. That was, I think, was one of my favourite Evelyn moments of the week, where she's out there walking with Cerberus and she just dumps this turd in a bag on Tyrone's case.
Yeah,
just for the larks.
I'm going to give it 3.5 senior knicker floggers.
Oh yeah, this is what Toya's... was it this week where there was that odd scene with Kurt calling Toya Miss? Was that this week or was that the week before?
I think it was this week. I don't know. It's
weird.
Odd. Yeah.
It was odd. I don't know what's going on there.
Not buying it.
No. What, Toya being a boss or Kirk kowtowing
anybody,
to her?
Anything.
But it was fine. It was an okay week. I wish that it was better than fine.
It'll do.
It'll do. I just want there to be more than it'll do. I just feel like I've just been so
I thought it was
bloody
fine.
down
I
on
quite
the
liked
programme
it. I thought it was
this year.
good. Okay, maybe I want to change my score and make it a 4 if you're going to be like a
No, what from a 3? Did you? Were you give
3.5?
You gave it 3.5, did it?
I really liked the way it started. I don't get the criticism. I don't think we need to see everything that happens. I understand people wanted to watch a car crash, but it wouldn't have been good. I'm just going to point this out.
I think
it wouldn't have been that good. It would have been a night scene. They're difficult to film. That you can't always see everything that's going on. I preferred it to be a bit intriguing and mysterious. We don't actually know what happened with Shona and what she got up to. I thought that I really liked the twist with the with Hope and Fizz coming back and then Fizz getting arrested. I thought that the mini mystery of who vandalised the garden, I know you thought that it was over too quickly. I didn't mind that. I don't need everything to be a 5-month-long story that never gets resolved, like who stole the report or whatever. I really
5 months, that's
am
generous.
enjoying Daisy being a man-eater, a proper unrelenting machine that just chomps up men and turns them into big piles of poo. And I'm intrigued to see where it's going to go with the Bistro. So 4. How about that?
You go
In
for
your
4 if
face.
you want to. I just there's very little on Corrie this year that's making me go, oh yeah, that was brilliant. Oh, that was amazing. Oh, I'm so invested and I'm so excited. And I can't wait to find out by this. Whereas usually by this time of the year, there's something. Even though the biggest stories have been the Fizz and Tyrone affair, I've enjoying, but it's not been like brilliant.
I get what you're saying.
And
There's
the same
no
with the
hook,
Nina
is there?
and Seb. It was great for that 2 weeks after it happened, but then it's gone off the boil for a bit. There's
What normally around
I'm
this
not-
time of year, it's kind of getting to the stage where we know what the big Christmas story is going to be because we can see.
the early
tendrils.
signs.
This isn't a completely uneducated stab in the dark here. I'm going to say it's probably going to be the Nina, Corrie, Seb murder
That's
trial
obviously going to be happening coming
and
up
the fallout.
in the autumn, exactly. So I think I'm looking forward to that. It just feels like if there isn't another big story that hasn't been announced yet,
I know what you mean.
it's going to feel like we're going to get to the end of 2021 and we'll go, is that it then?
Yeah.
And I don't know who's to blame for
Well, the
this,
thing
whether it's a
is,
post-Fit
it's
60th
probably-
anniversary, whether it's Ian McLeod's running out of ideas, whether
Well,
it's
it's
COVID
not just
restrictions.
that. It's probably like, you fight to get your way through the pandemic and all the restrictions, but then you've kind of forgotten that you need something beyond that. And who can say and blame anybody for being in that situation? Because I think we all are. I think we're all going, what now? And it's easy to say, oh, you should have, and who knows what they've got planned and up their sleeves. But I think a lull this time of the year, given what we know has happened and where we are in the world, very forgivable.
It's not
And it is
just this
it is
time
also
of year,
summer.
though.
It's also summer and lots of people aren't watching TV.
I know, I totally get that, but I'm just saying, since the start of 2021, it feels like that we've been in this lull for me. And every time I sit down to watch Coronation Street, it's not like I'm going, oh, here we go, another rubbish episode. I'm like, maybe this one's really, really going to be great. And occasionally there will be some brilliant episodes, like last week's Friday episode, a week and a bit ago. Watch that and go, yeah, that was good, but it just feels like those episodes are a little bit few and far between at the moment. And in my head, I just don't know whether I was spoiled by the Pat Phelan saga, because I just keep going back to that and thinking that was the days when we were so excited to sit down and watch it, and we couldn't wait to find out what was happening next, and we were full of theories and it was twists and it was amazing. And I don't know. Wow, I want to feel like that about Corrie again. I think I need to go on. I think some of the spoilers that I'm seeing are ruining it a little bit for me, and it's not like I'm going out to seeing these spoilers. I'm going online, social media, whatever, and I'm noticing things like would I have got more into it this week if I hadn't known that Todd was going to get hit by a car? I think I probably even knew that Fizz was going to confess to setting the fire. I just need a little bit less surprise, and maybe that's what I need to get into it a bit more, because
Honestly,
you're not reading
need to
this, aren't
take
you?
another social media break.
I know.
What are you reading?
I think I do. I
you
think
can
I need
post
another.
you can post without reading. I don't.
But
get it.
it's also when I'm searching for the news and everything.
Oh yeah, the news section.
Maybe I need to employ
Well, we don't
somebody
need
else
to.
hunt for the news
We
for
don't
me.
need to employ, force people and feel guilty if they don't have time. Not everybody can, but we don't need to have a news section.
Yeah, I do. And because there's so much news going on, or maybe not, because there's only a little bit this week. Anyway, that's enough of me moaning. I'm sorry about that, everybody.
You're not going to be the only one that thinks like that, and I totally understand what you're saying. It feels like back in the day there used to be a skeleton upon which the meat hung of Coronation Street, and the skeleton was like the structure that gave you like meaning to everything else, and that was the Pat Phelan story. And before then we had the sort of the Platt saga.
Yeah,
and
it was,
and it feels like there was always a big thing brewing. And
last year we had the Yasmin story that was keeping it going.
But this year I think it's supposed to be the Seb story, but unfortunately, for some reason, it doesn't feel as prominent or urgent and important as the other stories that have, hung everything else upon them have been. It just feels like a bit kind of bitty.
Yeah. The Tyrone and Fizz and Alina story has been the biggest story of the year, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel big enough.
But, back in the day you could have said, right, this is the A story of the year, this is the B story of the year, and then there are a few kind of minor ones and then some very, very tiny ones. Whereas this one, it's like, I don't even know which one's the main story of the year. Is it Seb or is it Alina and Tyrone? Don't know. Don't know yet. It should be more obvious. Unless this is
And then everything else seems to be a C story and they've kind of skipped the Bs.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a deliberate kind of approach to see, is this actually a better way of doing it? And for some people it might well be. But not necessarily for us, is it? Not working so well as it has done in the past.
No, but I'm not giving up or anything,
But
and I'm definitely going into every episode thinking this could be good.
Yeah. The other problem
Fresh
is
start.
if you're hanging almost everything off of a sensational A story that dominates the year, what do you do with the viewers that are alienated and don't enjoy it? Like Coronation Street did alienate a lot of people that did not enjoy the Pat Phelan stuff at all.
Totally.
And is that still something they can look and go, yeah, we're still seeing that people haven't come back from that?
I don't know.
You risk everything, put all your eggs in one basket.